Chapter 34-22. Freshman Trial. So that's how it is. Many people nodded. Perhaps they did not believe that the third-grade ultimate desolation would fail. Of course, some people did not think so, especially those who knew Lin Ling's origin. They felt that things might not be as they imagined. So boring. At this moment, Lin Ling left Snow Wind Academy and walked towards the courtyard. He had already reported once, so Snow Wind Academy should not expel him. Just as he returned to the courtyard, a burly figure stood there. After seeing Lin Ling, he could not help but smile. It was the old woman. Looks like Lei Gong's trial by God mission is here. Lin Ling could not help but look forward to it. After completing Lei Gong's mission, not only could he become stronger, he could also obtain some treasures. Naturally, he was looking forward to it. Lin Ling, you're back. After seeing Lin Ling, the old woman could not help but smile and said, "Trial by God's first trial. The second mission is to participate in the Starry Sky Forest and find the Maha Mantra." "Yes, Maha Mantra." Lin Ling was stunned. "Yes, this mission is not a must, but if you can complete it, you can get a reward. You can make any request of Lei Gong." The old woman said, "In fact, the first trial of the Trial of God has 3 major tasks. As long as you complete 2 of them, you can pass. Currently, of the 10 Thunder God trial challengers, 5 of them have already completed the first trial. So, if I complete this mission, the first trial will be a success." Lin Ling nodded. This mission was not a must, but it would be better if he could complete it. After all, to be able to make any request of Lei Gong, this was a rare opportunity. Although the new heavenly court would not make a move on Qingzhou, Lin Ling could not guarantee that the assassin organization would not. So if Lei Gong came out to protect Qingzhou, no one in 9 states would dare to provoke Qingzhou. "But, what is the Starry Sky Forest training?" Lin Ling asked again. "Freshman trial," the old woman suddenly said, which made Lin Ling nod his head in understanding. It seemed that he had to participate in the freshman trial even more. Next, Lin Ling and the old woman entered the courtyard together. After the old woman entered, she immediately discovered the changes in the courtyard. She was immediately shocked. Lin Ling smiled mysteriously and didn't explain anything. The power of this courtyard can continuously stimulate the potential of one's innate talent. "Teske, I didn't expect that the courtyard I randomly found for you would contain such a treasure." The old woman looked around in shock. Suddenly, her expression changed. "No, this courtyard used to be the residence of a young master. There's no way he didn't notice the power in the courtyard." The more she thought about it, the more surprised she became. Then she couldn't help but look at Lin Ling. She guessed that Lin Ling had found the secret of the courtyard and used it to his advantage. Lin Ling, he really had a lot of secrets hidden on his body. He didn't look like an ordinary genius at all. Instead, he looked like a powerhouse that came from the era of gods. How would she know that the former Li Xiaoyao was a ghostly genius of that era? To be called a ghostly genius, how could his knowledge be weak? Of course, Li Xiaoyao rose quickly and fell quickly as well. Therefore, not many people in the 9 prefectures knew of Li Xiaoyao. After all, in the 9 prefectures' endless history, there would always be geniuses who would rise at a certain time. This was an unchanging principle. In the next 10 days, Lin Ling cultivated in seclusion in the courtyard, allowing his cultivation to gradually reach the peak of the 5th stage of the Saint Realm. As for the space-time divine steel, the realm-devouring beast, the sky dragon's bones, and the great netherwind dragon, his innate talents were also improving. Especially the realm-devouring beast and the dragon god's bloodline, they were showing signs of transforming into the 2nd-grade ultimate desolate body. However, the cultivation time was too short. In the blink of an eye, 10 days had passed. It's time for the freshman trial. On this day, Lin Ling walked out of his room. Xiao Yu and the rest were waiting for Lin Ling. Lin Ling hugged Xiao Yu and left a few words to Du Xianing and the rest before walking towards the Snow Wind Academy. The Snow Wind Academy was extremely lively. All the freshmen had gathered. It turned out that the freshmen of the Snow Wind Academy weren't limited to Lin Ling's class. As long as they joined the academy within 100 years, they were considered freshmen. Therefore, the number of people had almost reached 10,000. It was extremely lively. When Lin Ling arrived, the originally lively surroundings suddenly quieted down. Regardless of whether they knew Lin Ling or not, all of them were staring at Lin Ling. This was because they had heard that a troublemaker had arrived this year. A troublemaker that had made the vice principal apologize personally. Most importantly, they had heard that this troublemaker had entered the academy through the back door. In the academy, there was no lack of people who entered through the back door. However, they were all very low-key. People like Lin Ling were very rare. I didn't expect that you would really dare to come. Among the crowd, Siluan also looked at Lin Ling and said coldly. The other teachers didn't give him any face, especially the teacher called Zhou Lin. He hated Lin Ling the most because the old woman beside Lin Ling had once beaten him up like a dog. Therefore, he also told the strong in the class to find a way to teach Lin Ling a lesson if they met him. Why wouldn't I dare to come? Lin Ling ignored everyone's strange gaze and said indifferently. He still had that kind of indifferent look on his face. When everyone saw this, they were naturally angered to the point that their teeth itched. Do you know what the freshman trial is? How many people who participate in the trial can survive? Siluan said. She had thought that Lin Ling wouldn't dare to come. I really don't know what the freshman trial is. Lin Ling nodded. He only knew that it was in the Starry Sky Forest. However, he wasn't familiar with that place. You! Siluan immediately pointed at Lin Ling. She was so angry that she couldn't speak. Because anyone who knew about the freshman trial would be afraid of this trial. Therefore, she thought that Lin Ling wouldn't dare to participate after knowing what the freshman trial was. Who knew that Lin Ling wouldn't even know what the trial was and would shamelessly participate in it. Lin Ling, the freshman trial is in the Starry Sky Forest. That is one of the 7 forbidden areas in the 9 prefectures. Do you know now? At this time, Zhuang Yanming also spoke. Because he also thought that Lin Ling wouldn't dare to participate. Oh! Lin Ling immediately revealed a surprised expression. Because he didn't know that the Starry Sky Forest was one of the 7 forbidden areas in the 9 prefectures. So far, he had been to a few forbidden areas. The 8 gods' heavenly palace was a divine palace that he hadn't reached the peak of. The eternal forbidden forest was very dangerous. Lin Ling hadn't reached the core area in the past. However, he estimated that the strongest person in the forbidden forest was Nanwu Fengyu God. The rainbow world was needless to say. It had its own god. And now the Starry Sky Forest. It could be said that a place called one of the 7 great forbidden grounds was definitely very dangerous. However, Lin Ling had promised the old woman that he would look for the Maha Mantra. Therefore, he had no reason not to go. Now that you know how to be surprised, do you still dare to go? Seeing that Lin Ling was surprised, many people laughed. Siluan touched her chin and said, If you go with your strength, only death awaits you. Sorry, after hearing what you said, I want to go even more. Chapter 34-23. Apologize. Everyone was stunned. They were so angry that veins popped out on their foreheads. Lin Ling, let me tell you. Not only is the Starry Sky Forest dangerous, it is also a place for criminals. Do you know that? Fugitives are the worst criminals in the history of the 9 prefectures. They take pleasure in killing and devour humans. Their strength is as strong as the gods. When they meet people from the 9 prefectures, they only have one thought, and that is to kill. At this moment, Zhuang Yanming roared angrily. The land of criminals. One had to know that since the era of the gods, countless experts had been born in the 9 continents. Some of these experts had done too many outrageous things, causing the experts of the 9 continents to join forces to suppress them. Even the gods had taken action. Those criminals had nowhere to run, so they all hid in the Starry Sky Forest. The Starry Sky Forest had also become a gathering place for the villains of the 9 prefectures. If an ordinary person were to enter, there was only one outcome: death. You're called Zhuang Yanming, right? The Starry Sky Forest is a place for criminals, so you're afraid. Lin Ling was surprised, but he still smiled faintly. Zhuang Zhengming was stunned. His original intention was to let Lin Ling know the ferocity of the Starry Sky Forest so that he would retreat. But in the end, Lin Ling said that he was afraid. If you're scared, you can follow me into the Starry Sky Forest and be my dog. I'll guarantee your safety. Lin Ling continued without waiting for Su Zhengming to speak. Fuck. Zhuang Yanming was so angry that he wanted to tear Lin Ling's mouth apart. The other new students also frowned, but Lin Ling opened his mouth once again. Of course, I'm not talking about him alone, but everyone present. All the new students were stunned. Then, all of them became furious. Too damn arrogant. Some of them knew about Lin Ling's background, while others didn't. Those who didn't know were the local warriors of the Miao Prefecture, descendants of dukes and viscounts. They naturally looked down on outsiders, but now, this outsider said he wanted to protect them? Did he enter the academy through the back door? Could it be that he was very powerful? Otherwise, where would such confidence come from? Bullshit, if he had great strength, why would he need to go through the back door? For a moment, the gazes of over 10,000 new students fell onto Lin Ling because they realized that Lin Ling seemed to be completely afraid of the starry sky forest. However, Lin Ling turned a blind eye to it. He didn't care at all. As for the Snow Wind Academy, the vice principal and the headmaster were also watching this scene. The vice principal frowned and said, "Headmaster, this is the Lin Ling that you promised. What is his background?" The dean was a kind old man with white hair. He looked ordinary, but his eyes contained the divine light of the sun and moon. He smiled faintly and said, "He was recommended by the city lord." City lord? The vice dean was surprised. He thought that Lin Ling's background was the duke's mansion. However, I also don't know what kind of strength he has. This guy is somewhat extraordinary. His Jie Yuan seems to be at the 5th level of the Saint Realm, but it gives me a very vigorous feeling. Furthermore, there are many hidden powers in his body. Currently, I can only detect that he has fire affinity talent, and it is also the ultimate desolate body. The headmaster said again. It's just the ultimate desolate body. 90% of the students in our academy have it. However, regarding whether to enter the starry sky forest, many people have considered it for a long time. For example, among this year's new students, there are more than 100 of them who don't dare to enter. As for the other new students, they only made this choice after 100 years of consideration. Where did this Lin Ling get his courage from? The vice dean frowned. In the starry sky forest, even a martial ancestor would die easily, not to mention a Saint Realm cultivator. Currently, the vice dean only knew that Lin Ling's background wasn't small, but his strength was hard to say. Therefore, for Lin Ling to enter the starry sky forest was no different from sending himself to his death. Since he was recommended by the governor, shouldn't the vice dean remind him? After all, Lin Ling's current strength isn't enough for him to enter the starry sky forest. Unless he has the strength to defeat a first-level martial ancestor who has the ultimate desolate body, he will most likely die if he enters. The vice dean said again. However, the vice dean shook his head and said, "The governor's relationship with him isn't simple. He warned me not to let anyone provoke Lin Ling. Therefore, I reckon that Lin Ling is the governor's illegitimate son." Illegitimate son? The vice dean was stunned and his frown deepened. "Lin Ling, are you participating or not?" "Yes." At that moment, the crowd was still enraged by Lin Ling's arrogance. Siluan even shouted angrily at Lin Ling, "Of course I'm participating. Why wouldn't I participate in such a fun place?" Lin Ling shrugged his shoulders indifferently. Siluan was fuming with anger. It seemed that Lin Ling still didn't know the dangers of the starry sky forest despite what they had said. Could it be that Lin Ling was willing to risk his life just to make her kowtow and admit her mistake? "Lin Ling, you're my student and I don't want you to die in the starry sky forest. Therefore, I'll give you a chance. Let's call off this bet," Siluan said again. Although she didn't like Lin Ling was still her student. She could teach him a lesson, but if he died because of her, she wouldn't be happy about it. This was different from the beginning. At the beginning, Lin Ling wasn't considered her student. Therefore, she didn't stop Zhou Lin from attacking him during the registration. "Are you afraid?" Who knew that Lin Ling would be so overbearing when Siluan took a step back? You. Siluan trembled. She was kind enough to give everyone a way out, but Lin Ling didn't intend to let her go. "It's useless to be afraid. As a teacher I have to do what I say. Now that I've agreed to participate in the freshman trial, shouldn't you fulfill your promise?" Lin Ling said indifferently. Everyone looked at Siluan. Siluan lowered her head and her body continued to tremble. In her mind, she recalled every detail of her interactions with Lin Ling. She didn't expect that her arrogance in the past would be exchanged for such a price. Plop. However, Siluan didn't say much. She knelt down in front of everyone and raised her head to look at Lin Ling with reddened eyes. "Lin Ling, I was wrong. I was too arrogant. I hope you can forgive me. The whole school was shocked. Siluan was a messenger of God and a respected senior of Snow Wind Academy. But she knelt down and apologized. And it was to a freshman. Lin Ling looked at her indifferently. His impression of Siluan had changed. This was because he didn't expect Siluan to be so daring. She knelt down when she said so and kept her promise. All right, I forgive you. Lin Ling said word by word. These words came from the bottom of his heart. Siluan didn't say anything. She just nodded and turned around to leave. As a teacher, kneeling in front of countless students was a huge humiliation for her. However, she still knelt. This showed that she was indeed a person with principles. Not bad. Lin Ling looked at Siluan's back and nodded with a smile. However, all the freshmen were furious. This Lin Ling was too shameless. Damn it! Chapter 34-24. Starry Sky Forest. This guy is really lawless. As expected of a member of the God-slaying alliance. Earring, who came from the Flying Dragon organization, said secretly. Although the Flying Dragon organization had a grudge with Lin Ling, she was only an assassin trained by the Flying Dragon organization. As long as the assassin mission didn't arrive, she had no grudges with Lin Ling. Therefore, she didn't target Lin Ling. Talent, truly a talent. This is our batch's son of the devil, Lin Ling. In Lin Ling's class, some girls said indifferently. They came from the Duke's mansion and Viscount's mansion in Miaozhou. Some of them were even the daughters of the Vice City Lord. Originally, they had some discrimination against outsiders like Lin Ling. But now, they realized that Lin Ling wasn't simple. Making the vice principal and teacher Siluan apologize, this was the first time in the Snow Wind Academy. Although he's arrogant, it's undeniable that he's a person with principles. A girl with a cold aura said indifferently. She had long pink hair and wore a snow-white robe. Her alluring body and exquisite facial features made her look like a goddess. Her name was Chu Yun, and she was also the most beautiful girl in Lin Ling's class. Principles? Principles, my ass. I think he's just trying to please the crowd. However, the other experts didn't think so of Lin Ling. Chu Yun shook her head and didn't explain. Everyone had their own opinions. If they threw away their prejudices against Lin Ling was indeed a man. He made a bet with teacher Siluan. If Lin Ling participated in the freshman trial, teacher Siluan would have to kowtow and apologize. Teacher Siluan did that, but Lin Ling also had to participate in the freshman trial. However, the freshman trial wasn't a game. It wasn't like Miaozhou where they were facing criminals from the 9 prefectures. This also meant that Lin Ling was gambling with his life. If this wasn't a principle, then what was? Lin Ling, the mission for the new students is to survive in the starry forest for a year, and if you can find the Astral Origin Stone, you will be rewarded by the Snow Wind Academy. How about we make a bet? If you can't find the Astral Origin Stone, then you will have to kneel down in front of the Snow Wind Academy. At this moment, a cold voice rang out. It was Teacher Zhou Lin. Clearly, he was trying to stand up for Teacher Siluan. Oh! Lin Ling immediately looked over. Naturally, he knew Zhou Lin. During the registration last time, he had almost killed Lin Ling. Teacher Zhou Lin, I don't even know if he will be able to survive. How could he possibly obtain the Origin Star Stone? Many powerhouses suddenly spoke out. They believed that Lin Ling going to the new disciple smelting trial was a matter of 9 deaths and 1 chance of survival. After all, even they had prepared for many years before finally deciding to enter. And Lin Ling had just arrived at the Wind Snow Academy. If he dies, that's his problem. I'm just asking if he dares to make the bet. Teacher Zhou Lin said expressionlessly. Obviously, he also believed that Lin Ling would die in the starry forest. But to let Lin Ling die just like that was too easy for him. That was why he proposed this bet. Sure. If I, Lin Ling, find the Astral Origin Stone, then you, Zhou Lin, will kneel in front of the Snow Wind Academy for 3 days and 3 nights. Lin Ling nodded lightly. I agree. I hope you can come out alive. Zhou Lin snorted and walked back. At least he had helped teacher Siluan vent her anger. Those who wish to participate in the smelting trial, please hand over your identity jade token. The academy will teleport you to the starry forest. At this moment, an ancient voice rang out in the sky. Everyone's eyes lit up and no longer paid attention to Lin Ling. Their attention was all on the starry forest. In this smelting trial, you have to survive for a year. Those who complete the trial will receive a reward from the Academy. Of course, if you can find the Astral Origin Stone, you will receive even more rewards. You will also be in the top 10 of this smelting trial. Survive for a year. It seemed like a simple task. But everyone knew that it would be very difficult. This was also the reason why no one was optimistic about Lin Ling's chances. Then, everyone looked at Lin Ling. Now that teacher Cailuan had kowtowed and apologized, it was up to Lin Ling whether he dared to participate or not. Lin Ling was expressionless. He was the first to walk out and threw out his identity jade token. Lin Ling, are you sure you want to participate? However, the ancient voice in the sky reminded Lin Ling again, causing many people to be surprised. Because they knew that the voice came from the vice principal. The vice principal actually reminded Lin Ling? This was somewhat incomprehensible. Only the vice principal knew that Lin Ling's background was not small. He was the illegitimate son of the city lord. That was why he reminded him. I'm sure. Lin Ling was also surprised by the vice principal's attitude, but he nodded his head firmly. Then, his identity jade token disappeared. This meant that he was sure to participate in the Starry Sky Forest smelting trial. Damn, this trash who got in through the back door is participating. How can I not participate? I'll participate too. Seeing Lin Ling's decisiveness, many people could not swallow their anger and began to participate. Even among Lin Ling's batch of freshman powerhouses, 2/3 of them had taken part. As for the freshmen within 100 years, 90% of them participated. And this was a huge force. Because they were all existences with the ultimate desolate body. Furthermore, they were all at the late stage and peak of the Sage realm. There were even experts at the first level of the Martial Ancestor realm. If they were placed anywhere in the 9 prefectures, they would be able to sweep through the 8 wastelands. And this was the strength of the final world. A student of an academy had the strength to sweep through the Yen state. The final world was definitely worthy of its reputation. Participants, please enter the spirit array. An ancient voice drifted out and the entire Snow Wind Academy seemed to be boiling. As for the experts of the God's second hall of the Snow Wind Academy, when they saw their juniors enter the smelting trial, their faces were solemn. In the past, they had also participated in the freshman smelting trial. Therefore, they knew that if they could survive this smelting trial, they would soar into the sky. Everyone entered the huge spirit array. A wave of ancestors' power spread out and enveloped the experts. Not long after, a divine light soared into the sky and broke open the sky, forming a storm. In the Snow Wind City, countless people looked at the sky with solemn expressions. They knew that the freshman smelting trial of the Snow Wind Academy had begun. Lin Ling felt a mysterious power lingering around his body. Moments later, an ancient wind blew against his face. Looking into the distance, this place was like another continent. However, the sky was a world of stars. It was extremely mysterious. Looking at the continent, it was silent. There were mountains, rivers, and even ancient forests. We've arrived at the Starry Sky Forest. Everyone appeared on top of a huge mountain peak. Tens of thousands of people stood there, giving off a magnificent aura. However, compared to this ancient continent, they still gave off a feeling of insignificance. The Starry Sky Forest is in the Universal Void. Similar to the Kaiyuan River, it is a forbidden area in the Universal Void. However, no one knows where this forbidden area is. 80,000 years ago, the gods found this place and set up a spirit array here, allowing the warriors of the Miao state to enter. Not only are there endless criminals and demons here, there is also the curse of the gods. That's right, this is the divine tomb. Chapter 34-25. He had been abandoned. Tomb of the Gods. Lin Ling listened quietly. Ever since he started learning martial arts, he had seen too many things. But every time he felt that he had seen too much and knew the secrets of the universe, a whole new world would appear before his eyes, making him feel like a frog in a well looking at the sky. Tomb of the Gods. In Lin Ling's class, many girls were also thinking about those words. Some of them were dukes, vice city lords, and some were princesses. They were all favored by the heavens. However, They were clearly not familiar with the starry sky forest. On the contrary, the powerhouses of other periods had done a lot of research on the starry sky world. Junior, the so-called Tomb of the Gods means that this is the most intense battlefield during the war between the gods. That's right. This is the place where most of the deities have fallen. I heard that the deities who died didn't enter the netherworld at all. They turned into dead spirits here. They are extremely powerful. Moreover, some deities have cursed this place, causing the 4 deities to be unable to interfere with this place. The senior powerhouses spoke one after another. So that's how it is. The women immediately nodded. Thanks to them, Lin Ling also became a little more familiar with this place. However, he had no clue as to how to find the Maha Mantra. Everyone, be careful. It's best to move forward in groups of 100 people. It'll be much safer this way. Although our goal is to survive for a year, don't think about hiding in one place for a year. It'll be even more dangerous. The safest way is to stick together and keep moving around here to avoid those criminals. At this time someone said, this method was said by the experts of Shen Air Hall and Shen San Hall. They have all passed the freshman trial. Alright. Many people hurriedly searched for their teammates. Of course, those who were strong were the most popular, such as Zhuang Yanming, Chu Yun, and Earring, who were in the same batch as Lin Ling. As for those who were weak, no one paid any attention to them. Not far away from Lin Ling, there was a woman who wasn't very strong. Like Lin Ling, she was at the 5th heaven of the Saint Realm. However, no one was paying attention to her at this moment. This made her extremely anxious. Well, can I go with you? The woman finally looked at Lin Ling. Because Lin Ling was also an existence that no one cared about. Lin Ling was currently using his myriad mammoth's devil eyes to look off into the distance, and when he was interrupted, his jaw dropped. However, when he saw the young woman, he realized what was going on. Fairy Xinyan, come with us. But at this moment, a voice interrupted Lin Ling. It was Zhuang Yanming. He said coldly, you are with him. Are you trying to protect him? Haha. As soon as he said this, many people laughed. Lin Ling's cultivation level was the same as Fairy Xian Yan's. But who knew, Fairy Xian Yan might be stronger than Lin Ling. Me. Fairy Xian Yan immediately frowned. She had originally invited Lin Ling, but someone else had already invited her. If she backed out halfway, it didn't seem right. Go. However, Lin Ling didn't care at all. Thank you. Fairy Xian Yan bowed slightly to Lin Ling and walked towards Chu Yun and the rest. However, she suggested softly, Lin Ling is still in our class. Ignoring him like this serves him right. However, Zhuang Yanming interrupted her and said proudly, he humiliated teacher Cailuan. How can we let him off so easily? All of us will not team up with him. We will make him regret it. As soon as he finished speaking, he looked at Lin Ling and said, Lin Ling, I wanted to teach you a lesson, but I'm too lazy to do so. Because when you meet the fugitive, you will know what kind of sin you have committed. Idiot! Lin Ling didn't even look at him as he jumped down from the mountain. He wanted to be alone, so these guys were being smug. If they weren't idiots, then what were they? You have a strong mouth, but without my protection, you are nothing. Seeing Lin Ling leave casually, Zhuang Yanming gritted his teeth and shouted, Don't worry, I will protect you. Thank you. Senior brother Zhuang. Many people nodded their heads immediately. Chu Yun looked at the lonely Lin Ling and couldn't bear to see Lin Ling leave. She felt like Lin Ling had been abandoned, but she endured it. She also knew that no one would agree to let Lin Ling join the team. I wish him good luck, son of the devil, Lin Ling. Chu Yun thought to herself. Fairy Earring also looked at the gradually disappearing Lin Ling. Her beautiful eyes flickered, and no one knew what she was thinking. At this moment, teams were leaving the mountain. At a closer look, there were a total of 1,000 teams, and each team was extremely powerful. They could easily sweep through the 9 states. However, in this place these powerful teams had to be careful. Tomb of the Gods. At this moment, Lin Ling was moving along the ground. His pace wasn't fast, but he was moving at 100 world speed. His all-encompassing demonic eyes was also paying attention to his surroundings. He wanted to survive here for a year and try his best to find the Mahakasayapa mantra and the astral origin stone. This continent has a powerful force that blocks my view. This might be the power of God. After moving for a long time, Lin Ling thought to himself. Kaka. At this moment, the ground suddenly wriggled, and the soil rolled. Then, a pure white skeleton crawled out. This skeleton's bones were like jade. At this moment, it was coldly staring at Lin Ling. Then it walked over step by step. In its hand was a long sword, and the body of the sword was emitting a dazzling light. Lin Ling frowned as he looked at the skeleton. However, more than that, he stared at the bones. He realized that these bones were somewhat extraordinary. There was actually a trace of the power of God within them. Could it be that this is the result of the God's bones' influence? Lin Ling was secretly surprised. He had seen many skeletons, but this was the first time he had seen such a mysterious skeleton. This sword came from the era of the gods. The tyrannical song sword appeared in Lin Ling's hand, and he fiercely slashed out. Clang! The jade-like skeleton's speed was not fast, and it was struck by Lin Ling's sword. However, only a white sword mark appeared on the skeleton, and it was unharmed. This left Lin Ling alarmed. His sword had 70% of the demonic sword rank. Without an ultimate desolate body, there were not many people who could withstand it. However, it was unable to slice through the skeleton. Clang! Following that, Lin Ling constantly slashed out, but the skeleton was still ineffective. What rigid bones! It's no wonder the Starry Sky Forest is one of the 7 forbidden lands. Even the skeletons I encounter are so strong. Lin Ling was even more serious about this legendary place. As for the skeleton, it took heavy steps and walked in front of Lin Ling. Its speed was not fast, but it left one helpless. This was because its defense was too strong. It raised its sword. Little skeleton, I don't only know how to use the sword. Lin Ling remained motionless. Instead, he put away his sword. With a thought, a gigantic ancient monument came crashing down from the sky. Space-time divine monument. Rumble. With this suppression, the jade-like skeleton immediately exploded. From within, a fragment the size of a thumb flew out. Lin Ling caught it, and upon careful inspection, he realized that it was a bone fragment. Although it was not large, it had a rich divine might. It seems like this bone is the reason why the skeleton is so strong. Chapter 34-26. War Fugitive. The place remained silent. Not long after, an ancient boulder began to move and emitted a yellow glow, which gradually transformed into a mysterious person wearing a yellow cloak. His strength was at the first layer martial progenitor realm. Furthermore, it seemed like his talent was similar to the ultimate desolated flesh. This year, many cultivators from the final world came here. I initially thought they would be a bunch of trash, but I did not expect there to be 1 or 2 strong cultivators. A second layer ultimate desolated flesh. Impressive. The mysterious man said indifferently, his voice like a stone grinding against the ground. How did you find me? Lin Ling did not answer his question, but asked, Are you a fugitive? Yes. Hearing this, the mysterious person did not speak. He slowly removed his cloak, revealing a hideous face full of scars. That's right, I'm a fugitive. I've been in the Starry Sky Forest for 22,000 years. It's all your fault. He opened his mouth and spoke with a strong stench. Furthermore, his teeth were yellow. However, his gaze toward Lin Ling was filled with a strong murderous intent. I was originally a virtuous and respected sect master in Yuzhou. It was you people who slandered me, harmed me, and made me run all over the place. I don't even look like a human or a ghost. The mysterious person was filled with resentment. He had been in the Starry Sky Forest for too long, causing his temperament to be twisted. It's none of my business. I'm not going to take the blame. Lin Ling calmly said. Shut up, it's all your fault, it's all your fault. The mysterious person snapped furiously. All right, cut the crap. If you want to fight, let's fight. If not, piss off. Clang. Lin Ling raised the sword in his hand and pointed it at the mysterious person. The mysterious person was stunned. He was a first-layer martial progenitor realm cultivator with the ultimate desolated flesh. How could a junior of the sacred realm challenge him? Let me see how powerful a martial progenitor with the ultimate desolated flesh is. Lin Ling advanced instead of backing off, unleashing his speed of 200 world boundaries. The Tyrant Song sword slashed downward with 70% demonic power. The mysterious person was shocked by Lin Ling's speed. Even among the Sacred Realm cultivators, 200 world boundaries. Crash! In the sky, demonic chi surged, and killing intent gushed out. A sword slashed down. The mysterious man raised his turbid eyes, revealing a look of disdain as he grabbed at the sky with his palm. His hand was extremely aged, having experienced countless years. The old skin was extremely thick, as if it was a set of armor. Clang! When the hand and the sword collided, the Tyrant Song sword was actually blocked. The Saint Realm is too low, the mysterious man said indifferently. Is that so? A cold laugh came from above his head. The Tyrant Song sword suddenly became as heavy as 1,000 catties as it slashed down towards the ground. What? The mysterious man's expression immediately changed because the strength of the Tyrant Song sword didn't seem to be at the 5th level of the Saint Realm, and it seemed to be at the peak of the Saint Realm. Could it be that this young man was hiding his strength? How could he have known that this was the fusion of Lin Ling's 5 great Dantians? The martial ancestor realm possesses the power of an ancestor. Together with the ultimate desolate body, he is indeed powerful. At this time, Lin Ling nodded. Rumbling sounds came from his body, as if countless demons and ghosts were roaring. The power of his godly demon body erupted. The power of 1,000 worlds. The power of 2,000 realms. Ka-ka-ka. The ground cracked open, and dust soared into the sky. The mysterious man's hand began to tremble, and his eyes changed greatly. Not only is this young man's world essence powerful, but his physical strength is also so powerful? At this time, the ultimate power of 3,000 worlds arrived. Rumble! The sword bent the mysterious man's waist, and his entire body began to tremble from the powerful force. A first-level martial ancestor with the ultimate desolate body is indeed powerful. At this moment, Lin Ling held the sword with both hands, and his strength erupted. However, he was also surprised by the mysterious man's strength. If he was an ordinary martial ancestor, he would have been killed by the sword. It seems that I have underestimated you. The criminal roared angrily. Purple chi spread out from his body like billowing smoke. The ultimate desolate body erupted. You have finally used your trump card. Lin Ling's lips curled into a smile. Crepe Myrtle Wing Chun God. A sacred voice came from the criminal's body, and the purple light enveloped the area. Hundreds of flowers bloomed, and the Wing Chun God was eternal. This was the talent of the Crepe Myrtle God. Furthermore, from the aura, these talents were vigorous and righteous. It could be seen that this mysterious man was a sect master of a righteous sect a long time ago. However, soon, the surging divine power began to change. The purple flowers bloomed, and they carried a touch of evil and ferocious aura. Mixed with a powerful ancestral power, the flowers grew crazily and swept towards Lin Ling. Powerful indeed. Lin Ling immediately sensed the difference between the ultimate desolate body and the desolate body. It was a qualitative change. In addition, there was the ancestral power in it. Therefore, the fusion of Lin Ling's Dantian with the godly devil body was difficult and unrewarding. Wind and Rain 10,000 Worlds Technique, 10,000 Techniques. The speed of 300 worlds immediately erupted. Lin Ling retreated. 300 worlds speed? The criminal was shocked again. This speed was terrifying because he was only slightly faster than Lin Ling. All the purple flowers missed, but at this moment, Lin Ling attacked again. An ancient divine steel smashed down from the sky. This was the space-time divine steel. Rumble! Although it could not destroy all of the purple flowers, it destroyed half of them. A second-grade ultimate desolate body. The criminal was alarmed again and again. His opponent's talent was higher than his, and his realm essence was not much weaker than his. His advantage was only the ancestral power, but his opponent's physical strength was powerful, and could match his ancestral power. After some evaluation, he knew that he could not kill the youth. With this thought in mind, the criminal's mind began to rumble. Where did this freak come from? Hualala! All the purple light receded like a tide. Clearly, the criminal wanted to escape. Lin Ling sneered. This battle made him realize that he could defeat a martial ancestor with an ultimate desolate body if he used all his strength. Following that, he chased after him. Sir, don't go too far. The criminal sensed that Lin Ling was chasing after him, and his expression turned ugly. Aren't you criminals? Aren't you people who kill people like scything flax? Now, you say that I'm going too far. Don't you find these words laughable? Lin Ling shook his head. He was sure that these criminals had killed countless people in the Starry Sky Forest. Therefore, he would not show any mercy. Stop. However, at this moment, several beams of light shot over. Following that, a few figures blocked in front of Lin Ling. They were all criminals. They were like devils or ghosts. Their auras were extremely terrifying. Most importantly, their realms were higher than the criminal from before. Furthermore, they also had ultimate desolate bodies. Furthermore, their leader seemed to have a third-grade ultimate desolate body. They looked coldly at Lin Ling. Their expressions were cold and emotionless. As for Lin Ling, he stopped in his tracks and looked at them indifferently. Which school are you from? One of them said, as if he was surprised at Lin Ling's strength. You can consider me from Snow Wind Academy. Lin Ling said calmly, but his face did not show any fear. Chapter 34-27. Choice. Previously, they had seen Lin Ling's attack from afar. His talent was strong and his realm essence was dense. He didn't look like a sage at all. If Lin Ling still had a hidden trump card, they would be in trouble. Therefore, they were calculating whether they could kill Lin Ling. But in the end, they didn't choose to take the risk. After all, they didn't have enough people. Moreover, there were many students who entered the Starry Sky Forest. You can leave. One of the criminals said indifferently. Leave? I don't plan to leave. However, Lin Ling shook his head. He still had a hidden trump card. What was there to be afraid of? Don't be too arrogant. Let me tell you, there are many criminals in the Starry Sky Forest. If you insist on going against us, you won't be able to stop more criminals. Moreover, you might not be able to stop us if we join forces to kill you. The criminals were enraged. Is that so? Lin Ling sneered. The dragon bow appeared in his hand and the dragon god roared at them. The moment the dragon bow appeared, its aura was extremely terrifying. The criminals' faces changed slightly. They finally knew that Lin Ling was indeed hiding a trump card. Do you have to kill to your heart's content? The criminals also looked as if they were facing a great enemy. Actually, I don't object to you killing everyone who entered the Starry Sky Forest. I'm not here to avenge them. However, the criminal wanted to kill me and wanted to escape when he saw that he was about to fail. So, how can I not do anything? Lin Ling said indifferently, now, you only have 3 choices. 1. Fight with me. 2. Spare his life. 3. Answer a few of my questions. You choose yourselves. Lin Ling's dragon bow was still aimed at them, threatening them. What a strong guy. The criminal's aura became even colder. Lin Ling was too arrogant. He actually dared to threaten the criminals. However, when they saw Lin Ling's overbearing aura and strong confidence, they started to hesitate. In the end, the leader of the criminals said, we choose the last choice. Tell us, what questions do you have for us? In fact, they also wanted to fight to the death. After all, they were fugitives who killed people like flies. They were cruel and merciless. However, they were also people who had lived for tens of thousands of years, so they had a feeling that if they really fought, not only would they not be able to perish together with Lin Ling, they would be killed by Lin Ling instead. This kind of intuition was something they had cultivated through many years of life and death battles, and they firmly believed in it. Have you heard of the Maha Mantra? Lin Ling put away his bow. He knew that these people did not want to fight force with force for the time being. Maha Mantra? The criminals looked at each other and shook their heads. We've been here for tens of thousands of years, but we've never heard of the great Maha spell. However, you can go deeper in because there are many powerful people in the 9 states who have reached the depths. Perhaps you can follow them and learn of the great Maha spell, said one of the criminals. There are other people in the Starry Sky Forest? Hearing this, Lin Ling was a little surprised. That's right, you can enter the Starry Sky Forest from other places. 100 years ago, the Starry Sky Forest welcomed many experts. They are all in the depths of the forest. Who are these experts? We're not too sure about that, but we know that these experts are very powerful. Moreover, in the nearby area, there's an expert who is also recruiting criminals. He wants to bring many people into the depths of the forest. That expert's strength is also very terrifying, which led many people to join him. Currently, we know that among the experts who have come to the Starry Sky Forest, there's a group called the Heavenly Court and an escort agency. Is it the new Heavenly Court? Godly Escort Mansion? That's right, that's the name. After a round of conversation, Lin Ling was even more surprised. The new Heavenly Court is here too? What are they doing here? Then do you know where to find the Starry Sky Origin Stones? Lin Ling asked again. There are many Starry Sky Origin Stones here. We also know that the academies in the final world send their students here to search for Starry Sky Origin Stones. Therefore, we are very strict about these treasures. If you want them, just follow the crepe myrtle star and you'll find them. So you're using the Starry Sky Origin Stones to attract students and then kill them. That's right. The criminals looked at each other and nodded. Do you see the brightest star over there? That's the Southern Astral Star. Although there are more Starry Sky Origin Stones, there are also more criminals there. If you go there, you'll die. If you go to the crepe myrtle star, not only will it be less dangerous, but we can also let you get it easily because the criminals there are familiar with all of us. It just depends on whether you have the guts to go or not. The other criminals also spoke. Although these people had surrendered, if they lied to Lin Ling and caused Lin Ling to go to the crepe myrtle star and face more criminals, then Lin Ling would be courting death if he went there. If an ordinary person encountered such a problem, they would definitely not believe these criminals. Why wouldn't I dare to go? However, Lin Ling did not hesitate and nodded. The criminals' eyes flashed and they fell silent. They said this to test Lin Ling, to see if Lin Ling dared to go. However, Lin Ling said that he dared to go. This meant that Lin Ling was still hiding something and was not afraid of them at all. Thanks. Lin Ling did not say anything else and turned to leave. This person is only at the sage stage. Is he really that powerful? In the land of gods, any miracle can happen. Maybe he really is hiding a powerful trump card and that's why he's not afraid of us. Then should we give him the Starry Sky Origin Stones? Give it to him. This person is also a decisive person. If we really offend him, he won't show any mercy. The criminals frowned and said as they watched Lin Ling leave. The leader said, "Tell Cloud Dagger, if you meet this person, don't provoke him." Then they also left. What do you think of his strength? Suddenly, someone asked this question, and it instantly caused everyone to fall silent. The leader suddenly stopped in his tracks. Maybe even a martial progenitor with the ultimate desolated body would not be able to defeat him. Sizzle! Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. In the martial progenitor realm, it was extremely difficult to increase one's cultivation level. It depended on one's talent and luck. Therefore, every martial progenitor realm expert was extremely rare. However, a sage with strength comparable to a martial progenitor realm cultivator was extremely terrifying. Everyone knew that the martial progenitor realm included the first to third layers. In other words, unless they encountered a large group of criminals, they would most likely be wiped out if they were to encounter Lin Ling. He's definitely a lone wolf that we shouldn't provoke. The criminals mumbled to themselves. At a certain time, the final world would have a college that would train the new students. However, there were a total of 36 colleges, which resulted in the Starry Sky realm having students all year round. However, most of them were mediocre. Only one or two of them were like the children of gods. Chapter 34-28. Ox God. The crepe myrtle star hung high in the sky. Lin Ling followed the crepe myrtle star. His main goal was to obtain the astral origin stone. Then, he would enter the depths of the Starry Sky Forest to search for the Mahakasyapa incantation. Furthermore, the Starry Sky Forest had become lively. The new Heavenly Court and the Divine Escort Mansion had also arrived. These were his enemies. Regardless of what they were looking for, as long as Lin Ling encountered them, Lin Ling would definitely cause trouble. Kill! At that moment, a cold shout came from the ground ahead. Lin Ling frowned and continued forward. Below a ravine that looked like a wilderness, a fierce battle was breaking out. Dozens of criminals were fighting with some students. The criminals were not as strong as the ones Lin Ling had encountered previously. However, due to their large numbers, they were extremely ferocious. This person has a second-grade ultimate desolate body, and is a first-level martial ancestor. I'll stop him. The battle was extremely intense, causing rocks to fall continuously. The strongest among the criminals was a second-grade ultimate desolate body. The criminal Lin Ling had encountered previously was a third-grade ultimate desolate body, and was a third-level martial ancestor. Even so, the students were having a hard time resisting them. They had more people, about 100 of them. However, there were people dying constantly. Of course, it was the same for the criminals. Because of this, the criminals would not rest until one of them was dead. Kill them. Women, all of them must be humiliated to death. The criminals were like demons, killing for fun. One of them chopped a student in half. Then, he grabbed the student's head and roared into the sky. Blood dyed his body red, but his roar became even louder. Countless demons surged out from his body, covering the sky and splitting the sun. It was extremely terrifying. Bang, bang, bang. Those demons chose to devour people. However, when they reached the top of the valley and saw Lin Ling, they wanted to devour him. However, they were easily destroyed by Lin Ling's punch. These guys are all imprisoned in the Starry Sky Forest. If they go to the 9 states or the 10,000 realms, it will be a disaster. Lin Ling stood at the edge of the valley and said calmly. The criminals were extremely powerful. Very few people in the 9 states could stop them. Die. But soon, that arrogant criminal's body was pierced through by a thunder god's spear. He couldn't be more dead. It was a powerful student who had a second-grade ultimate desolate body. Furthermore, he was at the peak of the Sage realm. Earrings, be careful. However, the battle was not over yet. The other criminals unleashed their powerful strength, and it was as if the gates to the underworld had been opened. Countless scythe-wielding death gods flew out and flew towards one of the women. It was the Earring, the assassin from the Flying Dragon organization. Lin Ling also saw that she was in danger, but Lin Ling did not care at all. Firstly, he did not have a good impression of the Flying Dragon organization. Secondly, these people had formed their own team, so they should be responsible for themselves. For example, if Lin Ling was in danger, these people probably wouldn't help. The Chu clan has a song, the True Immortal Clear Void Melody. However, at this moment, 10,000 swords flew through the sky, dancing and dancing with the wind. They carried a wisp of ancestral power, 10% of ancestral power. The celestial song was faintly discernible, like an immortal slaying divine sword. A third-grade ultimate desolate body was unleashed by a golden-haired woman. Chu Yun. Earrings shouted in pleasant surprise. Chu Yun was the #1 beauty in their class, and her strength was only below Zhuang Zhengming. Shoo, shoo, shoo. The 10,000 swords pierced through the gates to the underworld, killing all the death gods of the underworld. Furthermore, the sharp swords did not stop, killing the criminal who had unleashed his talent. Chu Yun is so powerful. She defeated a second-grade martial ancestor criminal with the strength of a sage. Seeing this, many people were pleasantly surprised, and their morale increased greatly. Rumble. At this moment, the entire canyon shook. A dragon soared into the sky, and golden light shone in all directions. Seeing the dragon god's talent, everyone's lips curled into a smile. It was Zhuang Yanming. As for him, he had a third-grade ultimate desolate body. In fact, his talent was even stronger than Chu Yun's. Kill without mercy. The dragon god opened his mouth in anger, and let out an ancient voice that was filled with boundless might. All of you die. On the other side, the criminals were also extremely terrifying. The strongest criminal among them was growing rapidly, emitting billowing black demonic aura. Amidst the endless black shadows, a massive figure was growing. Its eerie green eyes emitted a cold light. A pair of bullhorns seemed like they were about to break through the starry sky forest. Bull God. It was like the king of all demons, Bull God. Roar. The massive figure roared towards the sky. On the ground, the bodies of the students trembled, and the weaker ones even spat out a mouthful of blood. Then, they looked in front of them with terrified gazes. Very powerful. This kind of strength was beyond their imagination. In fact, their strength was already very powerful, as they were able to kill martial ancestors with their sage realm cultivation. Furthermore, they were martial ancestors with the ultimate desolate body. In the 9 prefectures, each of them would be a domineering existence. However, their cultivation time could not be compared to these 10,000-year-old monsters. All of you must die. I will use your heads as a sacrifice to this world. Black demonic aura was emitted, and a deep voice blasted the ground. Dream on. However, a dragon soared into the sky. Zhuang Yanming had made his move. His only advantage was that he was more talented. After all, he had the bloodline of the dragon race. His weakness was that his cultivation level was lower, and he did not have the power of an ancestor. Rumble. The dragon god and bull god clashed in the sky. The entire valley was hit by a terrifying shockwave that annihilated everything. Under this clash of powers, a large number of students were injured, and some even died. It was the same for the criminals. Kill them. Chu Yun and the rest were stronger, but they were implicated. Therefore, they attacked the criminals. After Zhuang Yanming clashed with Bull God, his qi and blood were in turmoil, and he was immediately injured. Looking at Divine Ox again, he was actually safe and sound. Instead, a huge trident pierced through the sun and moon, and shot towards the ground. Not good. Zhuang Yanming roared angrily, and he frantically struck out with his palms. With every palm strike, a golden dragon soared into the sky. His cultivation level power had reached 100%. Rumble. The golden dragons constantly attacked the trident in the sky. However, the trident was huge and ferocious. Although it was slower, it still continued to attack. This made Zhuang Yanming's face even paler. Big brother Zhuang, let me help you. At this moment, a delicate voice rang out. A woman attacked, trying to block the powerful attack from the sky. It's her. On the other side, Lin Ling frowned. He knew that woman. She was the woman who almost teamed up with him, Lin Ling. Her name was Fairy Xin Yen. With their strength, they can't stop the dragon god. Lin Ling shook his head. He wanted to leave, but when he saw that woman, he stopped in his tracks. Then, he waved his right hand, and the calamity-destroying bow appeared. He also looked at the huge dragon god in the distance. He drew the bow and released the arrows. The 4 arrows intertwined and turned into an even more ancient dragon god, rushing into the chaotic battlefield. Chapter 34-29. The Dragon Gods Attacked. Fairy Xinyan. Zhuang Yanming roared angrily as he constantly struck out with his palms, forming a large number of dragon gods that charged into the sky. However, it only caused the gigantic trident to tremble slightly. A mere impure subspecies of dragon gods dares to be arrogant in front of me? Ox God, who was standing in the billowing demonic clouds, let out a disdainful voice. Rumble. But at this moment, another dragon god roared and charged over at an extremely fast speed. However, Ox God did not care. From his point of view, although the youth had the bloodline of the dragon gods, it was not an authentic dragon race bloodline. Hence, a third-grade ultimate desolate body was only Ozo. However, this time, the dragon god did not have a subspecies bloodline. This was because this was Lin Ling's great calamity vanquishing Sun Bao. The 4 arrows intertwined and instantly arrived, penetrating Ox God's body. What? Ox God's eyes stared like bells. What was going on? However, after the dragon god arrows penetrated his massive body, they immediately began to wreak havoc, burning all his flesh and blood. No. Fuck, I've been tricked. Who is sneaking up on me? Ox God roared angrily towards the sky. He could only watch as a powerful force engulfed him. Rumble. Finally, the towering Ox God collapsed. And with the death of the criminal, the group was left without a leader. The remaining criminals were all killed. Rivers of blood flowed in the canyon as white bones piled up like mountains. We won, we won. Not long later, exclamations could be heard from the shattered canyon. The people who were still alive were extremely happy. Brother Zhuang. All the experts looked at Zhuang Yanming, believing that he was the one who killed Ox God. Zhuang Yanming was stunned because this outcome had exceeded his expectations. However, he soon laughed. He was the one who had killed Ox God. After all, when it came to the means of the dragon race, other than him, no one else was good at it. Brother Zhuang, I saw a dragon god charge into Ox God's body. Then, Ox God collapsed. You must have killed Ox God. Everyone walked back and were extremely excited. Zhuang Yanming immediately waved his hand humbly. These criminals were truly powerful. Thankfully, I used all my strength to kill him. I also protected everyone. Brother Zhuang, you are awesome. Thank you. With Brother Zhuang around, we'll definitely be able to survive for a year. Everyone was extremely happy. Being able to encounter a group of criminals and survive was undoubtedly a good start. Although the criminals from before were very powerful, they were not a large group. Otherwise, we would definitely have been wiped out. Everyone, be careful. Now, let's do a head count. Zhuang Yanming looked at the crowd and said, not daring to relax in the slightest. He also thought of himself as the leader. However, everyone nodded and began to count the number of people. Then, they were surprised to find that 40% of their 100-man team had died. There are less than 50 people left. Everyone's expression turned solemn. Even though they had been practicing martial arts for a long time and were used to seeing people die, the person who had died was a genius at the sage stage and not an ordinary sage stage cultivator. This made them feel unreal. Sigh, the starry sky forest is so cruel. It's like a huge wave washing away the sand. The weak will be eliminated. Let's continue moving forward. It's even more dangerous to stay here. Zhuang Yanming said again. Everyone nodded and prepared to leave. Oh, it's him, Lin Ling. Suddenly, Chu Yun let out a cry of surprise. He looked at the canyon and saw a cold young man standing there with a big sword and sword lock on his back. He looked like a lone swordsman. He's not dead. Many people were surprised. One must know that Lin Ling was only one person, and he had entered the Snow Wind Academy through the back door. But now he was still alive. One must know that their 100-man team had almost been wiped out. Maybe he's lucky that he wasn't targeted by the criminals. But someone said, causing many people to agree with this view. Zhuang Yanming frowned as he stared at Lin Ling suddenly. A strange thought came to his mind. Last time, he was inexplicably shocked by Lin Ling's roar. This made him guess that Lin Ling also had the bloodline of the dragon god. Could it be that the ox god was killed by Lin Ling? However, he shook his head. Lin Ling's cultivation realm was lower than his. Even if he had the bloodline of the dragon god, his cultivation realm was lower than his. Even he found it hard to kill the ox god. How could Lin Ling do it? Therefore, the ox god must have been killed by him. Zhuang Yanming. Lin Ling, it's great to see you. Fairy Xian Yan also let out a cry of surprise, feeling happy for Lin Ling. On the canyon, Lin Ling nodded slightly and then strode away. Everyone was stunned and immediately felt uncomfortable in their hearts. Lin Ling was still as arrogant as ever, just like a big shot. Lin Ling, why don't you join us? At this time, Fairy Xian Yan floated to the top of the canyon and blocked Lin Ling's path. She then smiled. Although she was not close to Lin Ling, she was the one who invited Lin Ling to join her team. However, she did not keep her promise, so she had always felt guilty. You've seen it for yourself. Our team of 100 was almost wiped out. If you're alone, there's no need to talk about it. So join us. Fairy Xian Yan said sincerely. Lin Ling smiled. Previously, when he attacked, it was all for Fairy Xian Yan, because Fairy Xian Yan was also the first person who spoke sincerely to him. Thank you. However, those people can't protect me. Lin Ling shook his head and said, Fuck. Fuck. At the bottom of the canyon, the experts were stunned and immediately exploded with anger. Previously, they were also a little moved. After all, their team had decreased in number. With Lin Ling joining them, their chances of survival would more or less increase. Therefore they did not object. However, who knew that Lin Ling would look down on them? Lin Ling this. Fairy Xian Yan also smiled bitterly. They were almost killed by the rogues. Lin Ling said again. Although it seemed like a casual remark, it was like rubbing salt in the wound. This guy is despicable. The experts at the bottom of the canyon were even more furious. If not for Zhuang Yanming's status as the leader, he would have already attacked Lin Ling. Lin Ling, let's go together. You saw how dangerous it was just now. If you go alone, you will most likely die. Of course, you may be arrogant, but you should think about Fairy Xian Yan. Previously, she almost died. Therefore, for her sake, you should join us. At this time, Chu Yun also advised. She had the same thought as the rest. The more people there were, the more strength there was. Moreover, she thought that Lin Ling liked Fairy Xian Yan. Otherwise, with Lin Ling's arrogant personality, he would not have said so much. Fairy Xian Yen blushed. In fact, she did not really like Lin Ling. However, she was curious about Lin Ling's strange personality. Lin Ling looked at Fairy Xian Yen and pondered for a while. Then he nodded and said, "If that's the case, I'll join. However, let me say this first. If you meet with any trouble, I won't help. This guy is too arrogant." Chapter 34:30. Below the crepe myrtle star. Fairy Xian Yan's heart was in a mess. She is the daughter of the final world's vice city lord, and the number of people chasing after her is as many as the hairs on a cow. So Lin Ling's words are not something she has never heard before. But for some reason, when these words come from Lin Ling, she still has a strange feeling in her heart. Perhaps, Lin Ling is different from ordinary men. He has another kind of temperament. "Thank you." Fairy Xian Yen quickly bowed and brought Lin Ling down the canyon. The people in the canyon looked at Lin Ling angrily. But thinking of the previous crisis, they endured it. After all, they are really short of people now. Zhuang Yanming looked at Lin Ling and was about to say something, but Lin Ling had already opened his mouth. "You seem to be the boss, right? But don't think of ordering me around. Also, I am heading towards the crepe myrtle star. If you want to follow, then forget it. I will protect you. If you don't want to follow, then do as you wish." Zhuang Yanming almost lost his composure as a team leader and attacked Lin Ling. This guy's mouth is too poisonous. Damn it, does he think he is the team leader? The others who had just suppressed their anger once again ignited. All right. Anyway, we don't have a definite location. Why don't we follow that star? At this time, Chu Yun tried to smooth things over. "Consider yourself lucky." Everyone followed the stairs down and finally agreed to follow the path forward. It is not good to stay here for long. Everyone quickly left the canyon. Sure enough, 2 hours after they left, a large number of criminals passed by the canyon. But Zhuang Yanming and the rest escaped quickly and avoided disaster. Starry Sky Forest is always night. The stars in the sky are bright and mysterious. A large number of teams are moving forward. They do not dare to stay in one place for too long and can only wander around. 1 year of survival is easy to say, but it is very difficult to achieve. That was because there were too many criminals here. I wonder how many people have died in the 10,000 freshman training. I think it must be a lot. We have already lost 40% of our people. So, there should be 1 to 2,000 deaths. No wonder the Wind Snow Academy wants us to consider carefully. This is indeed a place of death. Zhuang Yanming's team was still moving forward. They met other teams along the way, but they could see the fatigue on each other's faces. Of course, they did encounter some fugitives along the way, but there were not many of them and they were easily dealt with. However, 1 or 2 people from Zhuang Yanming's team had died. What infuriated the crowd was that Lin Ling didn't make a single move throughout the entire process. He didn't speak to anyone either. His hands were clasped behind his back as he walked forward alone. Trash. That look undoubtedly made Zhuang Junming curse in anger. Chu Yun and Fairy Xian Yen smiled bitterly. As time passed, Lin Ling and the others were getting closer and closer to Crepe Myrtle Star. After a long time, an ancient mountain peak appeared in front of them. Looking carefully, it looked like a palm stretched out from the ground, like a mountain with 5 fingers. At the highest point of the mountain, there was a dazzling purple star. This was the Crepe Myrtle Star. "We're here." Lin Ling's eyes lit up. That was because he knew that there was a star origin stone here. As long as he could get that treasure, he could leave and go deeper. Everyone, be careful. This mountain is not simple. Chu Yun and the others became cautious and carefully entered the 5 Fingers Mountain. However, there was nothing in the 5 Fingers Mountain. Instead, there were strange flowers and plants growing all around. When one was in the middle of it, one's recovery speed would be faster. This place is not bad. Brother Zhuang, why don't we take a rest here? Someone suggested. After all, they had been rushing along and were already exhausted. Zhuang Yanming looked around and finally nodded. He was also very tired. It would be good to take a rest here. Everyone sat down cross-legged. Lin Ling ignored them. Instead, he used his all-seeing demonic eyes and looked around. Brother Lin Ling, aren't you going to take a rest? Fairy Xian saw Lin Ling leaving and couldn't help but ask. I'm just walking around. However, this is not a suitable place to rest. After the time it takes for 3 incense sticks to burn, you'd better leave immediately. Lin Ling did not stop, but he left behind a sentence. This was because he knew that this was actually the base camp of the criminals. Perhaps the criminals had left, but if they returned, they would not be able to escape. Ignore him. This guy is useless except for his arrogance. I think the location of this place is very good. There is a 5 Fingers mountain guarding the outside. It is impregnable. Even if the criminals pass by here, it would be difficult for them to attack. Yes, we have been rushing along for so long. Let's take a rest. The others looked at Lin Ling with disdain and ignored Lin Ling. Lin Ling did not say much. He walked along the mountain range in search of astral origin stones. Not long after, Lin Ling finally found something under a huge mountain. That mountain peak was like a human finger, and hidden under the mountain peak was a palm-sized astral origin stone. According to legend, this was a divine star that fell from the void of the universe. It was a very rare existence. Lin Ling knew that this astral origin stone could be used to set up a powerful ancient divine array. It could also be used to forge divine artifacts. Perhaps, this was the reason why Snow Wind Academy needed this astral origin stone. Alright, the Academy's mission is completed. I have also won the bet with teacher Zhou Lin. After keeping the astral origin stone, Lin Ling smiled. Now, it was time to look at the Maha Mantra. After that, he walked back to the group, intending to bid farewell to Fairy Xian. Towards Fairy Xian, he naturally did not have any feelings for her. He just could not bear to reject her good intentions. However, just as he returned to the palm of the 5 Fingers mountain, Lin Ling realized that something was wrong. Hee, you guys have guts. You actually dare to come under the crepe myrtle star. Because a pair of huge eyes appeared in the sky. This pair of eyes had a strange magical power. The pupils were spinning like whirlpools. As long as you looked at it, you would be lost in it. The surrounding scene also changed, making people feel as if they had come to the underworld. The gray sky, the dead silent earth, everything was silent, making people feel extremely depressed. What happened? There are criminals coming. Everyone was shocked, as if they were facing a great enemy. 6 great god eyes of the universe, reincarnation god eyes. Zhuang Yanming was very knowledgeable. At this moment, he let out a dignified voice. In the sky, the spinning eyes were the reincarnation god eyes. It was one of the strongest eye talents in the universe. Break for me. However, the people present were not weak. A few of them immediately took action, creating a storm that blew away all the illusions around them. The surroundings returned to the 5 Fingers mountain. However, Zhuang Yanming and the rest were all stunned. Chapter 34-31. How about giving me some face? Thousands. How could they possibly stand a chance against them? They were surrounded, as if they were trapped in the 5 Fingers mountain. The criminals wore cold smiles on their faces. The experts were as numerous as the clouds. Who would have thought we would stumble into the geniuses of the institute? Hee, there are quite a number of them. This is going to be fun. An aged voice could be heard as an old man walked out with a smile. His eyes were filled with a magical aura, which turned out to be the reincarnation godly eyes. 3rd grade ultimate desolated body. Chu Yun's expression changed tremendously. The others quickly discussed among themselves too. Is there any way to break through? Brother Zhuang, can you open a gap? The experts on my side are all 3rd layer martial progenitors. Their strength is too strong. There's no way we can break through. Although I only have 2nd layer martial progenitors, their talents are all 2nd grade ultimate desolated bodies. Furthermore, there are so many of them, it's difficult for me to break through. The conclusion of the discussion was that they would not be able to escape even if they had wings. Left with no choice, they could only glare at Zhuang Mingming. However, Zhuang Mingming's expression was even uglier than theirs. Fellow criminals, how about giving me some face? Zhuang Mingming knew that it was impossible to fight them, thus he had to resort to other methods. Face my ass. One of the criminals replied with a hollow laugh. You're just an ant. The words did not give Zhuang Mingming any face, causing him to be infuriated, but he did not dare to refute. However, we don't like to bully the weak with our numbers, so we'll give you a chance. There are quite a number of beauties among you. As long as you're willing to come to us, we'll let you leave alive. The old man with the reincarnation godly eyes suddenly said with a smile. In your dreams, we'd rather die than be humiliated. Someone beside Chu Yun immediately scolded furiously. This asshole! Zhuang Mingming was startled. His heart was filled with anger, but it was not toward the criminals, but toward the person who had just spoken. Currently, they had a chance to escape, but the person had dared to refute the criminals. Wasn't he trying to get everyone killed? One had to know that among the thousands of fugitives, most of them were no weaker than the ox god from before. That being said, many people apart from him had the same thought. Hee hee. Meanwhile, those criminals laughed. One of them attacked the one who spoke, a sword slashing out. Ghost energy roared. Ancestral power was extremely powerful. Boom. The body of the person who had spoken earlier exploded, unable to withstand a single blow. This further illustrated the gap between the two sides. Originally, I was only interested in a few little beauties, but now, I plan to keep all the little beauties. The Samsara God Eye Elder faintly smiled after killing the student. All right, I promise you. However, can you guarantee their safety? Zhuang Yanming asked the old man. Sure. We have been trapped here for tens of thousands of years. It has been a long time since we tasted love. As for ordinary women, we do not fancy them. Only those with the ultimate desolate body are worthy of us. Furthermore, although we are fugitives who kill people like scything flax, we still have our principles. The Samsara God Eye Elder said. I'll give you one incense stick of time to consider. Chu Yun, what do you think? Everyone immediately started discussing. The only outcome of rejecting a wanted criminal was death. If they agreed, they would still have a chance. However, those girls would have to suffer. Chu Yun, Fairy Xan Yen, Ear Pendant and the other girls' faces turned cold. Were they going to sell their bodies? We will not force you. However, whether this matter is good or bad, you can evaluate it yourselves. Furthermore, if we leave this place alive, we will owe you a favor. You can consider it yourselves. That's right. It was not easy for us to reach the final world. On the path of martial arts, there are times when you have to give up certain things. It all depends on how firm your heart is in martial arts. Zhuang Yanming and the others said. Chu Yun and the rest were still hesitating. Compared to ordinary girls, they were clearly more decisive. They would not panic when faced with such a situation. However, for the sake of martial arts, they would have to sell their most precious bodies. This was something they could not accept. Time's up. At this moment, the old man's cold voice sounded. He smiled at the crowd and said, What do you think? I agree. Determination appeared in Chu Yun's eyes as she nodded. Hee hee, you are the prettiest. I thought you would be like those silly girls and value those things. However, you are not bad. You know that on the path of martial arts, you have to give up certain things. After all, if you refuse, you will die and your life will end. The old man nodded in satisfaction. How could Chu Yun not know this? However, she also felt uncomfortable. What about the rest of you? Chu Yun agreed. Hence, the criminal looked at the other girls. I agree too. Ear Pendant was the second to nod. As an assassin, she had stricter requirements for herself. Me. However, the other girls still could not let go of the humiliation. Fairy Xan Yen. Whether we live or die depends on you. Zhuang Yanming immediately looked at Fairy Xan Yen. He knew that more girls had to agree before the other girls would follow suit. Fairy Xan Yen immediately looked at Zhuang Yanming angrily. Although Zhuang Yanming did not force them, at such a critical moment, Zhuang Yanming did not protect them. This was too disappointing. In fact, the other girls also felt the same way about Zhuang Yanming. Zhuang Yanming spoke well at the start. However, in the face of a strong enemy, he still compromised. This kind of character was indeed disappointing. I agree. At this moment, Fairy Xan Yen finally made her decision. On the other hand, Zhuang Yanming and the rest smiled. Finally, they had escaped another calamity. It's not easy to survive for a year. However, Zhuang Yanming still comforted her. Hearing this, Fairy Xan Yan bit down hard on her red lips, and her eyes became moist. Was she going to give her body to those dirty criminals? Hee, this lovely little beauty just happens to suit my taste. I want her first. One of the criminals could not hold it in any longer. He walked down from the sky towards Fairy Xan Yan. As for the other criminals, they licked their lips and were about to make their move. However, at this moment, a figure blocked in front of Fairy Xan Yan. Criminals, right? How about you give me some face and let them go? The one who appeared in front of Fairy Xan Yan was actually Lin Ling. This D***Ned bastard. Zhuang Yanming and the rest were stunned. They were furious. It was not easy for them to settle this matter. In the end, Lin Ling came to cause trouble. One had to know that the criminals could have killed them all and snatched the girls away. Moreover, after they had humiliated the girls, they might even kill them. At least for now, the girls would be able to live after giving up their bodies. Lin Ling, what are you doing? Zhuang Yanming roared in anger. Chapter 34-32. Heavenly Soul Demon Bone. Who do you think you are? Why should I give you face? The old man sneered. He was unhappy. Originally, he wanted to kill all these people, but the women in this group were very beautiful, and they were tempted. Moreover, they didn't like to use force, so they gave these people a chance. Who knew that these people didn't take the chance, and there were still people who came out to act tough? Were they looking for death? Who am I? Lin Ling's face was still calm. He suddenly pondered, then looked up and said, I'm someone you can't afford to offend. The moment he said that, the 5 Fingers Mountain fell silent. Murderous intent appeared in the criminals, and Zhuang Zhenming and the others trembled. This lunatic. All along, Lin Ling's personality was strange, and they all secretly called Lin Ling a lunatic. After all, who would provoke the vice president, force a teacher to kneel, and act like he didn't fit in with the group? But who knew that Lin Ling's lunacy had no bottom line? Ha ha ha, someone I can't afford to offend. I haven't heard this sentence for tens of thousands of years. The old man was stunned, and he laughed out of anger. Just based on your fearless personality, I won't let you live, because being merciful to a proud guy is also a humiliation to him. The moment the old man said that, Chu Yun, Fairy Xin Yan and the others looked at Lin Ling. Being surrounded by thousands of criminals, Zhuang Zhenming and the others would only surrender. It was completely different from the protection they had promised at the beginning. Instead, the fearless Lin Ling walked out. Just like in the Snow Wind Academy, he wasn't afraid of the dean, he wasn't afraid of the teachers, and here, he wasn't afraid of the criminals. Let me. At this time, a criminal jumped down from the sky, and his powerful strength exploded, ready to attack Lin Ling. Zhuang Yanming, we have to help Lin Ling, he came out to speak for us. Chu Yun's opinion of Lin Ling had changed, and he said anxiously, how can we help? Zhuang Yanming was stunned, and he shook his head helplessly. Thousands of strong cultivators here. Help? That's more like courting death. We can't help at all. We could have turned big things into small things, but he just had to talk too much. The others also nodded with a helpless look on their faces. At this moment, the criminal in the sky had already made his move. A huge saber hung high in the starry sky, and countless skeletons floated out, transforming into a huge skeletal saber. This saber was obtained from the starry sky forest. It was said that there was a small piece of God's bone within it. Tianhun Demon Bone. The expert who attacked let out a cold voice and slashed down with his saber. Tianhun Demon Bone Gate. Chu Yun's expression immediately changed as he stared at the gigantic blade that seemed to be able to split the heavens and earth. Could this be the Heavenly Soul Demonic Bone Gate that has disappeared for 10,000 years? Sister Chu, what is the Heavenly Soul Demon Bone Gate? Fairy Xian Yan asked immediately. 10,000 years ago, it was an extremely famous sect. Their cultivation required the bones of tens of millions of people. Therefore, they killed countless people and accumulated countless bones, infuriating the 9 provinces. Later, the Miao Prefecture's celestial emperor took action, but was killed. In the end, it was the gods who destroyed the sect. The current Miao Prefecture's celestial emperor took the position because of the fall of the previous celestial emperor. Then wouldn't Lin Ling be in trouble? Fairy Xianyan started to worry. The backgrounds of these criminals were all extraordinary. It's not just trouble, he's dead meat. Zhuang Yanming immediately shook his head and said, a second-level martial ancestor with a second-grade ultimate desolate body. How could Lin Ling withstand this? Rumble. The huge saber slashed down, and tens of thousands of bones flew everywhere. Lin Ling, be careful. Fairy Xianyan subconsciously yelled. Don't worry, this bit of strength can't shake me. However, to everyone's surprise, Lin Ling actually turned around and spoke to Fairy Xianyan. Turn around? He was too confident. Swords from the gods. At that moment, Lin Ling finally attacked. He also knew that the criminal's strength was not weak. Therefore, he merged his 5 dantians and unleashed his godly demon body. He slashed at the sky with 70% of his demonic sword steps. Furthermore, he could see that the ancestral force of the saber was ferocious, but it needed time to accumulate its aura. Therefore, he attacked first. 300 world speed burst out. In an instant, he arrived before the bone saber, giving the criminal a fright. He knew that this young man's cultivation was the lowest, but he did not expect this young man to be so fast. Clang! A ferocious sword slashed at the sky. The saber and sword collided, and the wind and clouds surged. Rumble! The 5 fingers of the 5-finger mountain were instantly broken, and a shockwave rolled out. Then, 2 figures were sent flying. The criminal was sent flying 100 meters away, while Lin Ling was sent flying a few hundred meters away. However, the crowd was shocked. Lin Ling was not dead? What a strange kid. The old man with the reincarnation god eyes frowned. He was only at the 5th stage of the sage realm, but his world essence was comparable to the martial ancestor realm. Kid, I underestimated you. You are the first person in the sage realm who can force me to retreat. The criminal held the saber in his hand and looked at Lin Ling seriously. You are wrong. I am the first person in the sage realm who can kill you. On the other side, Lin Ling knew that he could not kill the criminal by normal means, so he decided to use his trump card. Great calamity destroying sun bow. Roar! A dragon god roared, but Lin Ling grabbed it with his left hand. It was as if he was grabbing an ancient dragon, reversing the universe. This action shocked Chu Yun and the others. This guy is too fierce. Dragon god bloodline. Zhuang Yanming's eyes trembled. This was the first time he saw Lin Ling unleash his dragon god bloodline. However, the pressure made it difficult for him to breathe. Brother Zhuang, his dragon god aura seems to be stronger than yours. The others also spoke one after another. At this moment, Lin Ling held the 5-meter-long dragon bow in his hand. The bone bow trembled and emitted a threatening aura. This bow is extraordinary. The criminal finally knew how powerful Lin Ling is. He also knew that he could not let Lin Ling shoot the arrow. Dang! He held the bone saber in his hand and unleashed an earth-shattering power of world essence to attack Lin Ling. With one slash, heaven and earth would be destroyed. However, at this moment, countless Lin Ling appeared in the sky. They all held the dragon bow in their hands as if a divine general had descended. At this moment, the criminal's eyes trembled. Which one of them is real? No, he must seize the time and kill that kid before he shoots the arrow. Rumble! The powerful bone saber erupted. If a god blocked it, it would kill a god. If a Buddha blocked it, it would destroy a Buddha. A large number of Lin Ling were killed. All of this seemed to be real. However, this was only the illusion god true inheritance. The purpose of using this soul force martial art was to delay for a certain amount of time. Time's up. A cold voice finally sounded. In the sky, 10,000 dragons roared. Countless dragon gods shot down like meteors. 10,000 arrows piercing the heart. Great solar calamity destroying Bao's 5th arrow. 10,000 Buddhas greeting. In the sky, the light of Buddha God illuminated all living beings. Tens of thousands of arrows shot towards the criminal. Boom, 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 boom. The criminal's bone blade was shattered, and he was sent flying backwards by the impact. However, there were too many dragon god arrows. He could block 100 arrows, 1,000 arrows, but he could not block 10,000 arrows. Boom! Chapter 34-33. Plead for leniency. I already said don't provoke me. The entire mountain range was silent. Only Lin Ling's voice could be heard. Chu Yun and the rest were stunned. A guess appeared in their minds. Could it be that the person who killed the dragon god was Lin Ling? Zhuang Zhenming's face was extremely pale. A feeling of humiliation rose in his heart. He thought that he was the one who killed the ox god. Kill him. However, at this time, the old man with the samsara eyes said coldly. They had been in the starry sky forest for many years. It had been a long time since they met such a fierce junior. It made him feel that his dignity was being challenged. All the criminals looked at Lin Ling, their eyes filled with dense killing intent. The sky was filled with criminals. They were densely packed and their aura was extremely terrifying. No matter how strong Zhuang Yanming and the rest were, even if they had seen countless storms, they were scared silly at this moment. They did not dare to move at all. Lin Ling was expressionless. He did not say anything and no longer held back. His soul force spread out like a sea urchin and fused the heavenly dragon's bone with the great nether wind dragon's talent. Rumble! A huge figure grew like bamboo shoots after a rain and turned into a monster that was even bigger than the Five-Finger Mountain. This monster was completely black, but it had dragon claws on its left and right hands. It gave people a chilling feeling. The most terrifying thing was that such a huge monster was not slow at all. It had the speed of 500 world boundaries. The expressions of the criminals who came to encircle them changed greatly at this moment. However, Lin Ling had already made his move. Rumble! Heaven and earth shook. Many people could not see Lin Ling's move clearly. Instead, they could see experts smashing down from the sky. In just a short incense stick's time, the criminals who attacked were either dead or injured. The murderous aura from before had disappeared. He blocked all the criminals by himself. Chu Yun covered her mouth. Her beautiful eyes were filled with disbelief. Was this still a student who came in through the back door? With such strength, he still needed to come in through the back door? Dragon God bloodline. No one was more surprised than solemn clarity. From Lin Ling's body, he could sense the demeanor of a king. If he was the dragon god, then Lin Ling was the king of the dragon gods. Heavens, this kind of guy was the Lin Ling he wanted to teach a lesson to? The mountain range was silent as the giant walked over, looking down at the Samsara God Eye Elder. In that case, do you think I'm someone you can afford to offend? As his voice drifted out, everyone was shocked. The old man with the Samsara God Eye stood in the sky, his face alternating between green and white. He had not expected this youth to be so strong. Not even an early-stage martial ancestor was his match. However, he was worthy of being an old monster who had lived for tens of thousands of years. He suppressed his surprise and said indifferently, I admit that you are indeed very strong. However, in this world, no matter how strong an individual is, they can't outlast a large number of people. Now that I'm here, do you think you can stop us? As expected of an ambitious and ruthless character, he did not plan to fight Lin Ling one-on-one. Instead, he joined the battle himself and joined forces to fight Lin Ling. Samsara God Eye. However, Lin Ling sneered. His eyebrows twitched, and a giant ancient steel appeared in the sky. It hovered in the sky, exuding a majestic aura. Of the 6 great god eyes of the universe, the space-time god eye. The old man with the Samsara God Eye was shocked once more. He felt as disgusted as a fly. This youth's talent was too terrifying. He also had 6 great god eyes of the universe. What do you think? While he was still in shock, Lin Ling also let out a low growl. Do you think I'm afraid of you? We've cultivated for tens of thousands of years. Can a junior intimidate us? The old man with the Samsara God Eye was riding a tiger and had no way to back down. If it were any other occasion, he would not have provoked Lin Ling. However, the arrow was on the bow and he had to shoot it. If he retreated, the criminals in the surrounding area would no longer trust him. And if he had no status in the starry sky forest, he would be mercilessly eliminated. However, just as the two sides were about to fight, several figures suddenly appeared in the sky and shouted, Wait! Limu! The old man with the Samsara God Eye clearly recognized this person. This person was very famous in the surrounding area, and even had a good relationship with him. You can't provoke this person. After these people arrived, they first looked at Lin Ling in shock and then spoke anxiously. They were the criminals that Lin Ling had encountered before. Everything was as they had guessed. When Lin Ling used his full strength, He could indeed shake an early-stage martial ancestor. This strength was truly terrifying. Fortunately, they did not attack at that time. How about you give me some face? The person said again. Chu Yun and the others were stunned. Did they hear wrong? A criminal was actually speaking up for Lin Ling? After all, shouldn't criminals kill them as quickly as possible? Lin Ling must have curried favor with that criminal, so that criminal spoke up for him. Someone immediately said. The other students immediately nodded. This was the only explanation that made sense. Why did you speak up for this person? The old man with the samsara god eye said with a frown. Because I don't want you to make a big mistake. Moreover, I owe him a favor, so I have to repay it. After all, if he didn't give me face, we would all be dead already. The person said gravely. Hearing this, the old man with the samsara god eye's pupils trembled. He had also thought that this criminal had spoken up because Lin Ling had curried favor with him, but now he knew that this was not the reason for Lin Ling's favor, but because these criminals feared Lin Ling. Li Mu, you and I are equal in strength. I will give you face, but it's very difficult now. If I compromise, how will I convince the others? The old man with the samsara god eye's expression suddenly turned cold. Li Mu, I see that you are a friend, so I'll let you leave. If you insist on doing this, then don't blame me for attacking you. Samsara god eye, don't make a big mistake. Li Mu angrily roared. Haha, we're criminals. We can be persuaded by reason, but not cowed by force. Today, I'll say it. Even if we're all wiped out, I'll keep this brat here. Moreover, if we all fight to the death, this brat might not be able to stop us. The old man sneered. You really won't compromise? Li Mu clenched his teeth. When have I, the samsara god eye, ever gone back on my word? When have I, the samsara god eye, ever feared death? If I go back on my word, I'll leave this place upside down. Is this enough? The old man with the samsara god eye seemed to want everyone to know his resolve. Zhuang Yanming and the others immediately paled. They would not rest until one of them was dead. Fine, but what if that lord comes forward? But Li Mu spoke up once more. Haha, the starry sky forest has countless lords. I wonder who you're talking about? But it's useless. No one can change my mind. The old man with the samsara god eye chuckled and then spoke, emphasizing each word. But just as he spoke, the sky seemed to twist, and then a pair of ancient eyes looked down at the heavens. And if it's me? Yes. Chapter 34-34. The leader of the criminals, the ninth god eye. Another eye's talent? What a joke. There's already the space-time god eye and the samsara god eye here. What right does the talent of the other eyes have to be arrogant here? Scram. The samsara god eye elder disdainfully chuckled. In the entire universe when it came to god eyes, there were only 6 strongest people. The other god eyes were nothing more than clay chickens and pottery dogs in his eyes. And now, 2 god eyes had appeared here. Could another god eye have appeared? If that was the case, then god eyes were too worthless. You want me to scram? The eye that appeared in the sky seemed somewhat surprised. That's right, I want you to scram. Scram. No one can stop my heart. The samsara god eye elder raised his head and roared, his samsara god eye meeting the mysterious eye in the sky. His voice was very loud, and he constantly shouted the word scram. However, it was very loud at the start, but it gradually became softer. In the end, he was the only one who could hear the word scram. The other criminals also had an overbearing aura at the start, but when they saw the elders change, they were all confused. What was going on? Didn't the boss say that he wouldn't give face to anyone? Didn't the boss's tone not have the slightest hint of compromise? Scram, scram, scram. The elder was still muttering to himself, but cold sweat was dripping down his forehead. This was because that pair of god eyes finally gave him a sense of familiarity. This person was not a criminal from the starry sky forest, but had just arrived. However, his strength was monstrous, and he had subdued a large number of criminals. He could be called the boss of criminals. And it was precisely because he had just arrived that the elder had not been able to react for a moment. You are the ninth boss. The elder let out a terrified voice. He knew that the situation was grave. Samsara God I, your courage has grown. You dare to call yourself a king in front of me? I'll ask you one thing right now. Will you compromise or not? An angry voice came from the sky. I like stubborn fellows the most, so you can try if you don't want to compromise. At this moment, Shang Diming and the others were stunned because they noticed that they hadn't just encountered a formidable fugitive, they seemed to have encountered the most terrifying fugitive amongst all the fugitives. While they were still in a daze, the Samsara God I suddenly charged at Lin Ling and kneeled. Little brother, I apologize for offending you before. I'm just a braggart, so please don't take my words seriously. In truth, I knew from the very start that you were extraordinary and never planned to continue fighting. After all, I didn't want to see a peerless genius injured here. Please forgive me, forgive me. This kind of attitude caused the world to fall silent. Previously, this old man was extremely stubborn and refused to give face to anyone who came. He insisted on fighting to the death with Lin Ling. Everyone thought that he was the kind of person who would rather be killed than humiliated. But now, he compromised faster than anyone else. No, he surrendered. The fugitive surrendered. And it was the leader of the criminals who surrendered? Everyone from the Wind Snow Academy was stunned. They had heard countless stories about the Starry Sky Forest, but they had never heard of a fugitive surrendering to a student. At this moment, Lin Ling had also returned to his original form. He frowned and looked at the sky. Who was that person? Little brother, you have to say a few good words for me. In front of him, the old man was about to cry and kept saying, who is he? Lin Ling's eyes were still looking at the sky as he frowned. Hearing this, the old man was stunned. This young man doesn't know the leader? What kind of joke is this? He is one of the leaders of all the fugitives in the Starry Sky Forest, and among the 6 great god eyes of the universe. He is also my leader. He is the 9th god eye. The old man quickly said. Lin Ling was stunned. The 9th god eye? Isn't this the old man I saved in the Yen States arena? Ha ha ha, little guy, we meet again. At this moment, an old man in a black robe walked down from the sky. His aura was extraordinary, and there were signs of space distortion around him. The 9th god eye. The strongest god eye of the 6 great god eyes of the universe. If Lin Ling did not remember wrongly, this old man was a demigod-like existence. No wonder all the fugitives were afraid of him. Coupled with the 9th god eye's temperament, even the fiercest fugitives would be beaten into submission by him. Little brother, help me. I'm very afraid of death. At this moment, the Samsara God Eye old man was still looking at Lin Ling, his eyes moist. He was about to cry. He was waiting for Lin Ling to say something. If Lin Ling did not spare him, the 9th god Eye would definitely kill him. Lin Ling looked at the ground and then said, forget it. Let them leave, and I won't pursue this matter. Of course, if they lose a single hair, I'll hold you responsible. Okay. Little ancestor, whatever you say. The old man was overjoyed. He looked at the fugitives and said, do you see them? Do you remember them? You have to protect them well. If they lose a single hair, I'll take your heads. Yes. All the fugitives nodded their heads. As for Chu Yun, Fairy Exa and Yen and the rest, they were stunned. They were going to be protected by the fugitives? Didn't they have to avoid the fugitives in the Starry Sky Forest? This result was beyond their imagination. Undoubtedly, they were also very shocked. If they passed the freshman trial because of the fugitives' protection, when they returned, they would probably become the world's first. You can leave now. Lin Ling looked at them and said. Of course, he looked more at Fairy Exa and Yen. Thank you. Everyone bowed to Lin Ling. Today, Lin Ling had given them too much of a shock. Was this what they thought of as a student who got in through the back door? Next, Chu Yun and the rest left one after another. Zhuang Yanming's face was dispirited, as if he was sincerely convinced. In terms of strength, he was inferior to Lin Ling. In terms of talent, Lin Ling's dragon god was his ancestor. In terms of protection, he was now being protected by Lin Ling. As for the female students, after they left the Five Fingers Mountain, they immediately started chattering. Brother Lin Ling is so handsome. Yeah, when he just entered the academy, I already felt that he had a unique charm. After all, he is the only one who dares to not fear the vice principal. We all owe him a favor. At least we don't have to pay with our bodies.
Who said that you owe Lin Ling a favor?
You can repay him with your body. I don't care. If Brother Lin Ling asks, I will immediately send myself to him.
Slut.
After surviving a calamity, the female students were undoubtedly very happy and joked with each other. As for the male students, their faces were gloomy. At this moment, Lin Ling did not leave the Five Fingers Mountain. He had already obtained the Astral Origin Stone, so he planned to go deeper into the Starry Sky Forest. Senior, thank you.
Lin Ling said to the ninth god Eye.
Haha, no need. The last time you helped me escape, I didn't even have time to thank you. But I didn't expect that in just a few years, you would come to the final world. Chapter 34-35. Working Together. The other criminals looked at Lin Ling enviously. Only they knew how cruel the ninth god Eye was.
At least, none of them dared to speak to the ninth god Eye like that.
Earlier I met a few criminals who talked about the space-time god Eye of the 6 great god Eyes of the universe. I knew it was you, so I rushed over and immediately saw you. The ninth god Eye said. Lin Ling smiled and suddenly asked, Senior, are you the expert who gathered the criminals in the Starry Sky Forest and plans to enter the depths? That's right, that's me. Are you interested?
The ninth god Eye knew that Lin Ling was not weak, so he invited Lin Ling, because I followed Flame Emperor and the others here.
I know that they are searching for a treasure in the Starry Sky Forest, so I want to disturb them. The ninth god Eye said coldly.
In the past, if not for Flame Emperor and the others, he would not have been trapped for so many years.
Of course, this is my personal grudge. If you refuse to join us, it doesn't matter. The ninth god Eye said. Lin Ling was delighted. Senior, I'll join because Flame Emperor is also one of my enemies. Right, who else entered the Starry Sky Forest? The Heavenly Court, the Divine Escort Mansion, the Flying Dragon Organization, and so on are all my enemies. It's because they are all here that I came to cause trouble. The ninth god Eye said. With his strength, Flame Emperor alone was not enough to subdue him. It was because the other factions had joined forces. Lin Ling was even more pleasantly surprised. He immediately named his enemy. The two of them immediately hit it off. Ha ha ha, I've finally found someone to my liking. In the past, you caused havoc in the Yen state. Today, I'll cause chaos in the 9 states with you. The ninth god Eye was also very happy. Lin Ling's strength alone was unmatched. How could he not be excited to have such a helper? He also knew that many people from the various factions had come to the Starry Sky Forest. He alone could not fight against all of them. Senior, do you know their general location?
Lin Ling hurriedly asked.
I know the general direction. Why don't we set off immediately? All right. Lin Ling followed the ninth god Eye, and the ninth god Eye led a large number of criminals into the depths. As time passed, Lin Ling suddenly realized that the Starry Sky Forest was very big. Previously, he was only at the periphery. After walking past the periphery, although there were still criminals, there were obviously not many of them. On the contrary, there were many great forces from the 9 prefectures. There were those who were famous and those who weren't. It was as if they had gathered here for some treasure. With so many great powers gathered here, the treasure must be extraordinary. Senior Ninth, are there any other forces other than the great forces you mentioned? Lin Ling could not help but ask. I heard that the 9 prefectures' 10 evils are also here. However, these sneaky people have always been secretive. So until now, I still don't know who the 9 prefectures' 10 evils are. Then why are they gathered here? I don't know about that either. Lin Ling and the others chatted as they walked. They were even more curious about the treasure. And Lin Ling was looking forward to finding the Mahakasayapa incantation. The further they went, the fewer ancient trees they saw. On the contrary, the ancient aura was even thicker. White mountains of varying heights appeared before them, exuding a mysterious melody under the starry sky. I heard that these ancient mountains were formed from the bones of gods. When gods fell here, they transformed into these mountains. The 9th god Eye indifferently said. Lin Ling nodded. It was no wonder that his methods had not been able to cause the heavens to crumble and the earth to rend.
This was because the earth and sky here seemed to have been formed from the bodies of gods. The starry sky forest hid far too many secrets of gods. Rumble. At this moment, a rumbling came from up ahead. It seemed like a great battle was taking place. Everyone be careful. Don't expose yourself. The ninth god Eye immediately warned. At present, before he could figure out the enemy's goal, he did not want to expose himself. Lin Ling, follow me. The ninth god Eye called out to Lin Ling, and the two stealthily advanced. The battle up ahead was extremely intense. On a rather short hill, some people wielded weapons and erupted with powerful strength to resist the skeletons around them. There were many skeletons around them, their bodies glowing with a jade-like light. At this moment, they were slowly encircling them. Kill. These skeletons were extremely extraordinary. These people had long ago realized this, so they pushed their techniques to their limits and destroyed the skeletons one after another. Damn, these skeletons are tough enough. I, a martial ancestor, only managed to destroy one after 10 some blows. Under the influence of god bones, these skeletons have long since given birth to half-god bones, so they're definitely tough. That's right. They're not part of the 6 paths of samsara and aren't bound by the laws of the universe. They exist in an extremely strange domain of the world. Perhaps only gods can punish them. Enough nonsense. Hurry up and attack, or else these skeletons will surround us. Rumble. Waves of light shot out, sending the skeletons flying back. Although the skeletons were tough, they could not endure the constant attacks of the experts. Crack. Gradually, cracks began to appear on the skeletons, and after a few more attacks, they finally shattered. Bang, bang, bang. The skeletons fell one after another, leaving behind specks of light. These were the fragments of the skeletons, which contained the aura of gods. Swoosh. However, at this moment, a cold light flashed. Ah! One of the experts immediately let out a cry of pain, and then his entire body was chopped into pieces. On the hill, the figure of a ghost demon shuttled back and forth, taking away a life every time it appeared. What's going on? The remaining people also noticed something. Oh no, there's another skeleton. Most importantly, this skeleton's speed is extremely fast. I'm afraid it's at the speed of 400 worlds. Someone's hair stood on end. That was because although the skeletons before were terrifying, their speed was extremely slow. Now, there was finally one that could move faster. Ah! While the crowd was still in shock, another person was killed. Heart Power Wheel. At this moment, the strongest person unleashed his talent. A black wheel appeared in the sky, rolling and emitting a metallic luster. The wheel of strength continued to shrink as it surrounded the hill. It's trapped on the hill. Everyone, surround it and kill it. That person roared furiously. Ding ding dang dang. At the same time, the black metal wheel emitted golden stars. Obviously, the skeleton also knew that it was trapped, so it attacked the heart power wheel in an attempt to escape. However, it was of no use. Caught it. Instead, the skeleton was locked onto by the experts, and terrifying attacks were launched at it. At the same time, everyone saw that this skeleton was actually completely green, completely different from the previous ones. Chapter 34-36. Translator. Nyoibo Studio Editor. Nyoibo Studio Secret. This skeleton has already gained sentience. Fear rose in everyone's heart. A skeleton with sentience was undoubtedly much more terrifying than those skeletons that could only walk. Go to hell. However, there was only one skeleton with sentience. Thus, with everyone's combined efforts, they were able to kill it. That was close. The starry sky forest is indeed terrifying. It is simply a world of divine bones. However, we have survived this calamity. Haha, that's right. Those who survive a calamity are bound to have good fortune in the future. Looking at the shattered skeleton, everyone laughed. I don't think so. However, at that moment, a laugh came from the bottom of the hill. 2 mysterious people in large cloaks slowly walked over. These 2 people were Lin Ling and the 9th god Eye. Lin Ling had 5 dantians and was adept at concealing his aura and strength. Thus, no one recognized him. The 9th god Eye was a half-step to martial god. His ability to distort space was very strong. Even his aura was distorted. Naturally, no one could guess who he was. Your Excellencies, who are you? The faces of the people on the hill turned cold. These two people had waited for them to kill all the skeletons before appearing. How cunning! If you don't speak, die. However, the people were only afraid of the skeletons. It did not mean that they were afraid of Lin Ling and the ninth god Eye. Most importantly, their backgrounds weren't small at all. I should be the one asking you this question. However, the two people at the bottom of the hill did not stop walking. One of them said flatly, I am from the New Heavenly Court. I am from Fuxing Manor. I am from the Duan family. The experts spoke one after another. They did not hide their identities. Perhaps their identities were what they were proud of. Now you know who we are, right? Now, tell us your names and leave your lives behind. Then, everyone looked at Lin Ling and the ninth god Eye and sneered. Just as I expected. However, I am very curious. Why are all of you gathered here? Lin Ling had already guessed their origins. Thus, he was not surprised. In response to Lin Ling's question, the powerhouses fell silent. Dead people don't need to know so much. They were already planning to make their move. Haha, you said before that if you survive a great disaster, you are bound to have good fortune in the future. Unfortunately, your disaster has yet to recede. Lin Ling also knew that if he didn't make a move, he wouldn't be able to get what he wanted to know. After exchanging a glance with the ninth god Eye, he took off his cloak and charged forward. That group of people had never imagined that Lin Ling and his companion would be so arrogant. Just the two of them dared to attack them first. However, only after the collision did they realize how terrifying these two people were. It was practically enough to kill one of them with a single move. One of them, in particular, had the ability to distort space and kill several people with a single move. In just the time it took for 3 incense sticks to burn, a large number of experts had died. The remaining people were all kneeling on the ground, their bodies trembling. They were martial progenitor realm experts who had experienced countless battles of life and death. Under normal circumstances, they would not beg for mercy. However, the precondition was that both sides had to be equal in strength. But now, one side was far stronger than the other. They simply couldn't win. Sirs, how about you let us go? We won't speak of today's matter to anyone else. One of the begging experts said with a frown. Let me ask you something. What faction are you from, and who has come from your faction? Lin Ling looked down at the speaker. I'm from the Duan clan. Many experts from my Duan clan have come, but young Master Duan Yi is currently presiding over everything. I'm from the New Heavenly Court and am currently on the other side. Lord Ningbo Tao is presiding over everything. These experts didn't dare to hide anything. Lin Ling and the ninth god Eye glanced at each other. They suddenly sensed that the reaction caused by this treasure was even greater than they had imagined. This was because more people from the various factions were coming. What have you come for? Lin Ling put away his thoughts and asked once more. These experts immediately grimaced and frowned. Sirs, we also don't know. Don't force us. What if I insist on knowing? Lin Ling frowned. These people had been willing to talk about anything, but when it came to treasures, they became stubborn. Ha! These experts glanced at each other and sighed. Then, blood flowed from their lips as their souls scattered. Dead. The ninth god Eye immediately frowned. These people were willing to kneel to them for the sake of survival, but when it came to treasures, they were willing to throw away their lives. This meant that the secret of this treasure was even more frightening than they had imagined. Perhaps they didn't know what the treasure was, but they swore blood oaths to never reveal anything about it. Thus, when they saw that we were determined to continue asking, they knew that they were doomed and committed suicide. Lin Ling indifferently said. Lin Ling, if we don't know their goal and act rashly, we might end up alerting them, the ninth god Eye said. In truth, these people might not know what the treasure is, but I'm guessing that someone should know. His name is Duan Yi, and it's said that he's a 2-talisman divine paladin. He's an early-stage martial ancestor. Lin Ling said as he looked into the distance. An early-stage martial ancestor can become a 2-talisman divine paladin? It seems that this person has a good relationship with the gods. This means that his background is not small. He definitely knows where the treasure is. How about we go find him? The ninth god I immediately smiled. Lin Ling nodded, his eyes cold. I have a great enmity with him. If martial god Wentian hadn't interfered, I would have killed him long ago. Now, it's time for me to settle this grudge. In the past, Azure Province had welcomed a large number of experts. Although all the martial ancestors had been killed by Lin Ling, the mastermind, Duan Yi, had not. At that time, martial god Wentian had come and taken Duan Yi away. Moreover, if the old woman hadn't appeared, martial god Wentian would have killed Lin Ling. Now, without martial god Wentian, Lin Ling didn't believe that Duan Yi could still fly. Let's go. They should be in the vicinity. Let's find Duan Yi first. There are many experts in the vicinity. We have to be careful. The two of them took away the skeleton fragments on the ground and continued stealthily. The ninth god I wasn't afraid of these large factions. He just wanted to figure out their goal before taking revenge. As they traveled along the ancient earth, Lin Ling's group once again encountered people from the various large factions. However, this time, Lin Ling's group avoided them and didn't cause any conflict. Moreover, by following the tracks of these people, Lin Ling and the ninth god I gradually learned of Duan Yi's whereabouts. Duan Yi was at the eastern side of an enormous ancient mountain. After half a day, an ancient mountain appeared in front of them. Not only was this mountain enormous, it also gave off a strange feeling. It was extremely majestic, as if a god was sitting there. This mountain was clearly a divine mountain. Even martial ancestors might not be able to destroy it. The ninth god I exchanged glances with Lin Ling. They both sensed that this mountain was extraordinary. However, they also followed the ancient mountain and slowly approached Duan Yi. Chapter 34-37. Edited by Mike. Here my place is broken. After a long while, Lin Ling and the ninth god I stood at the base of a hill and looked into the distance. There were many tents there, just like an army camp. A flag fluttered in the wind under the starry sky. A large Duan character emblazoned upon it. The Duan clan was ultimately the #1 clan in the world, on par with the Wangu clan of the Yan province. Of course, this did not mean that the Wangu clan was very powerful. It was just that amongst all the clans in the 9 provinces, the Wangu clan was the closest to the Duan clan. Senior Ninth, are there any experts? Lin Ling turned to the ninth god I and asked. The ninth god I immediately smiled. The strongest is a late-stage martial ancestor. Perhaps the experts of the Duan clan have not yet arrived, or perhaps they have arrived but are in another place. That's good. Lin Ling was delighted. The Duan clan was no small matter. If a peak martial ancestor was stationed here, they would find it very difficult to approach. Let's go. The two jumped off the hill and began to walk toward the tents. Because there were no experts here, they did not hide their tracks and were quickly spotted. Who are you? Who allowed you to approach? Scram. Furious shouts came from the distance as some people walked out. But Lin Ling's group continued forward as if they had not heard anything. This is the territory of the Duan clan. Everything belongs to the Duan clan. Sirs, it's best if you don't seek death. What's the point of wasting words with them? Since they won't report where they came from, just kill them. The voices of the people who walked out grew colder and colder. The territory of the Duan clan? Lin Ling and the ninth god I glanced at each other and laughed. This was the Starry Sky Forest. When had it become the territory of the Duan clan? Sirs, you've seen the members of our Duan clan. So if you continue to walk forward, it's very likely that you'll die. Cultivation isn't easy. Don't waste a lifetime of hard work because of a moment of impulse. At this moment, an older old man said faintly. Lin Ling's group was less than 100 meters away from these people, but Lin Ling's group stopped. The members of the Duan clan laughed when they saw this. These two people weren't completely stupid. They finally didn't dare to approach them. You can leave now. The old man waved his hand, thinking that Lin Ling and the others had obeyed him. Wait. However, the people around him shouted. These people were younger and had been stationed here for many days. They were bored to death. Seeing that there were 2 idiots coming to play with them, they wanted to play with them. That's right. They can't leave yet. Our Duan clan is a clan of gods.
How can they leave so easily?
A woman said.
Ha! The old man frowned. But soon, a tall young man walked out. You can leave if you want, but you have to go through here. He spread his legs and pointed at his crotch. The people around were stunned for a moment before bursting into laughter. The old man was still frowning, but he soon shook his head helplessly. These little fellows seem to be bored out of their minds. It's been hard on them. They're young, but they have to stay here and endure the boredom. But it's fine. Let them play. He looked at Lin Ling's group and said, Gentlemen, I'm sorry. You could have left easily, but you're too close to the Duan clan's territory. So you have to crawl through our crotch before you can leave. You should be grateful for our Duan clan's righteousness. He couldn't help but laugh when he reached the end. Since the old man had agreed, the surrounding people laughed even louder. Someone shouted, Perhaps if you come here on your knees, seeing how sincere you are, you won't have to crawl into the crotch of someone's pants. With that, the person walked out and waved at Lin Ling's group. However, as soon as he finished speaking, a spatial fluctuation immediately came. In the next instant, a young man appeared in front of him with a sword hanging over his neck. The man's smile froze, and his pupils constricted. Who said we were leaving? The person who appeared was none other than Lin Ling. His expression was cold, and after saying this, he lightly slashed with a tyrant song. Blood gushed out, and a head fell to the ground and rolled around. The eyes were filled with shock, as if he had died with everlasting regret. Perhaps they had never imagined that Lin Ling would attack in the Duan clan's territory. This sudden scene caused everyone to fall silent. Their smiles were still on their faces, but they were frozen in place. As for the tall youth, he was also dumbfounded. His spread legs were actually trembling. But at this moment, the ninth god eye finally attacked. He was even faster, instantly appearing in front of the youth, coldly looking down at him, and lightly kicking. Moreover, he kicked between the youth's legs. Crack! The sound of an egg cracking could be heard. It was very ear-piercing. Everyone's heart skipped a beat. The tall youth was stunned, and then he hugged his legs and began to madly jump up and down. Ah, my place is broken. My place is broken. My fuck. His cries were extremely miserable. Impudent. The others felt a chill in their hearts. They no longer had their previous arrogance. Instead, they unleashed their strength and surrounded Lin Ling and the ninth god eye. Their faces were filled with killing intent and anger. These two had actually killed someone from the Duan clan? Sirs, do you know what you're doing? The elder roared. The person who had died was the son of a major figure in the Duan clan, and he didn't know how to explain himself. I'm killing people. Can't you see? Surrounded by these people, Lin Ling showed no fear. Instead, he spoke indifferently. In the past, when Duan Yi came to Qingzhou, he had almost killed everyone without hesitation. So why would Lin Ling hesitate when killing someone from the Duan clan? Everyone, there's no need to waste words with them. Inform the Duan clan. The woman in the crowd glared hatefully at Lin Ling and the ninth god eye. Everyone immediately nodded. Through their previous actions, they could see that these two were extraordinary. If they really fought, even if they won, they would suffer countless casualties. This was not something they wanted to see. If you have the ability, wait for us for an incense stick's time. The old man said coldly. Wait. Putting aside the fact that Lin Ling was not afraid of them, even if he was, would they wait just because they said so? Only idiots would wait. Divine steel of time and space. Lin Ling let out a low roar, and a huge stone tablet came crashing down from the sky, suppressing everything. Rumble. The young man whose balls had been kicked was directly smashed into meat paste. A moment ago, he was inexplicably excited and wanted Lin Ling and the ninth god eye to crawl under his pants. However, his balls had been broken and he had been smashed to death. It was quite tragic. Everyone from the Duan clan was stunned. These two people were so ruthless. Everyone, unite and block them. Wait for the Duan clan's experts to arrive. Chapter 34-38. This person was a demigod. However, before she could finish her sentence, a figure had appeared in front of her.
His hand reached out like a dragon's claw and grabbed her neck, rendering her speechless. Her eyes were wide open and she could see the person in front of her through the brim of her hat. This person was very young, about the same age as Xueqi. This made her want to say something. Bang! However, the hand that was grabbing her neck tightened slightly and her head tilted to the side. She could not be more dead. Although this woman was beautiful, she was also vicious and merciless. She was the one who had shouted the loudest, so Lin Ling showed no mercy. Duan her! The old man roared furiously and his body trembled in anger. You'd better take care of yourself. However, a voice entered his ears. Then, the space around him began to distort. Everything was stretched and shortened. It was an extremely terrifying sight. Under this power, the old man was forcibly distorted to death. Stop! At that moment, a furious roar finally came from the tent. A large number of figures charged out, led by an awe-inspiring man wearing golden armor and riding a fine horse. Xueqi, a two-talisman god holy knight. Next to him were several late-stage martial progenitors who were around the 7th level of the martial progenitor realm. It was extremely difficult to break through to the martial progenitor realm. Even if one possessed powerful natural treasures, it still depended on luck. Therefore, a 7th-level martial progenitor realm expert was extremely rare even in the 9 provinces. Who are you? Xueqi rode his fine horse and stared coldly at Lin Ling and Xueqi. You really don't need to know who we are. Lin Ling looked at Xueqi and said with a smile. Why did you kill a member of the Duan family? Xueqi asked again. Because I was bored. After all, I heard that this is the Duan family's territory and no one is allowed to come close. I made a bet with someone and thought that I could enter and leave this place as I pleased. Therefore, I came here to take a stroll. Lin Ling shrugged. In the past, Xueqi had gone to the Azure province out of boredom and wanted to prove that he was different from others. Therefore, Lin Ling had come here today with the same idea. How dare you? Xueqi was enraged. As the Duan family of the final world, no one had ever dared to provoke them like this. The reason was because they were bored. That's why he's here, but I'm different. But at this moment, the 9th god I also said, I just want to ask you, what is your Duan clan actually waiting for by setting up camp here? And is that place of treasure in the distant divine mountain? The moment these words were spoken, the expressions of all the Duan clan members turned solemn. The 9th god I nodded, not at all surprised by the Duan clan's attitude. It seems that you aren't willing to speak. However, I will kill you until you speak. He glanced at Lin Ling, who nodded and said, Xueqi, it's time for us to settle some old scores. After he finished speaking, the tyrannical song sword flew out, and Lin Ling also pounced forward. The tyrannical song sword seemed to have a spirit as it followed Lin Ling. Kill them. Seeing that the two were courting death, Xueqi immediately roared and pointed forward. The experts behind him charged out one after another. These experts were all at the initial stage of the martial ancestor realm. They also possessed the ultimate desolate body and were all 2nd grade. Brat die. Dark Frost Emperor's force. A palm reached out, its 5 fingers looking like twisted lightning. It was extremely ferocious. 20% of the power of an ancestor. Furthermore, the palm was getting closer and closer to Lin Ling, as if it would crush him in the next moment. Seeing this, many people immediately laughed. These 2 people were too weak to even withstand a single blow. But at this moment, something strange happened. A sword suddenly shot over and appeared in Lin Ling's hand. Then it slashed toward the sky. Rumble! That sword blocked the palm that twisted like lightning, causing that expert's expression to change. What a powerful boundary essence. Space-time divine steel. Boom! Lin Ling did not even look at the expert as the corners of his mouth twitched. Above his head, the huge space-time divine steel smashed down with a majestic aura. Not good. Uneasiness rose in the expert's heart. He wanted to retreat, but he realized that the sword in front of him was closing in. As long as he took a step back, there was a chance that he would be killed. How is this possible? The expert was extremely shocked. The person in front of him was too powerful. His realm essence was rich, and he had an additional physical strength. His physical strength was not much weaker than his realm essence. And that was not all. He could still control the steel to smash down. This meant that he was facing 2 experts at the same time. Help me! He roared, But it was too late. The space-time divine steel smashed down and destroyed everything in its path. Splash! Blood spurted everywhere. A martial ancestor realm expert was smashed into a meat patty. What? All the experts who had rushed over were shocked. It's him. He's the son of the demon. At this moment, Xueqi finally realized something. That sword, the space-time divine steel, everything was too familiar. Son of the demon? The others had obviously heard of this name. After all, the son of the demon was the person who had humiliated their young master Xueqi. They had also heard that if martial god Wen Tian had not intervened, their young master Xueqi would have died in the trashy Qingzhou. It's you, it's you. Xueqi's eyes were as red as blood. He suddenly remembered Lin Ling's words. He had come because he was bored. The last time he went to the Qing province, it was because he was bored. He wanted to let everyone know that he could easily capture the son of the devil. Now, Lin Ling was returning the favor. However, what was Lin Ling's background? What was his background? Did Lin Ling have the right to say that? Million Buddhas greeting. At this moment, Lin Ling floated up. The 5-meter-long dragon bow roared, and the light of the Buddha god enveloped the land. Swoosh! 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 Countless arrows of the dragon god shot out as if they were going to cleanse the world. Seniors, stop him. Xueqi knew how terrifying Lin Ling's strength was. Not many early-stage martial progenitors could defeat him. Furthermore, Lin Ling had an even more terrifying move, which was to summon the dragon demons. Bastard! The few late-stage martial progenitors roared furiously. It seemed like they had no choice but to intervene. Their talents were not outstanding. They only possessed the second-grade ultimate desolated body. They had only reached this level by sacrificing their life force. This was a way to forcibly increase their strength by burning their lifespan. However, only one among 100 people could overcome the tribulation of life and death and reach the late-stage martial progenitor realm. Since their talents were not outstanding, they had to rely on their realm origin and progenitor's force. Their progenitor's force had reached 50%. If they attacked, they would surely be able to kill Lin Ling. However, before their attacks could reach Lin Ling, they were immediately distorted. Furthermore, the space around them was distorted as if they were being teleported. Distorted space. The expressions of the experts changed greatly. Are you the ninth god's eye? In terms of the ability to distort space, the ninth god's eye was the most famous among the 6 great god's eyes. Chapter 34-39. I didn't kill you. No one could get close to Lin Ling. Instead, their bodies were constantly being pulled by the distorted space and gradually turned into nothingness. Looking at Lin Ling's side, his 10,000 Buddhas had also killed many people. Everyone, let's work together and kill the demon's son. Xueqi didn't dare to attack at all. He rode on his horse and roared, but the horse he was riding on was also trembling. That was because a huge black demon had appeared in front of them. It was neither a dragon nor a demon. The combination of its ominous aura and dragon aura was extremely terrifying. Rumble! That huge arm swept out, and no one could stop it. Blood rained down. It was Lin Ling. He had used his innate talent fusion transformation. His physical strength had reached the power of 5,000 realms. Who else could do it but him? This, what is this? The other members of the Xuan family had never seen such a monster before. They were so scared that their faces turned pale. On one side was the distorted space, and on the other was the huge black demon. How could the Xuan family block them? They were all killed one by one. At the same time, in the west, north, and other directions of the huge divine mountain, the various major forces were looking east with extremely grave expressions. That's the Xuan family's territory. Did someone attack the Xuan family? It seems that the 9 states' 10 evils are here too. Should we go and help? There's no need for that. The Xuan family has more experts than this. Moreover, this is a sensitive period. The experts of the 9 states are all rushing over. If we act rashly, we will become a thorn in their side. Powerful forces like the Flying Dragon Organization, the New Heavenly Court, and the Divine Escort Mansion didn't make a move easily. Everything was for that treasure. Since they didn't make a move, The Duan family was naturally in a terrible situation. In the end, only one person was left. It was Duan Yi. Run, run, Windchaser, run quickly. Duan Yi kept urging the divine horse under him. However, the horse's limbs were trembling. It almost knelt down, let alone run. Obviously, it had recognized Lin Ling, so it didn't have the motivation to run. Instead, a huge giant looked down at Duan Yi and said in a deep voice, "Duan Yi, what treasure are you waiting for? That divine mountain is where the treasure is unearthed." I don't. Duan Yi said with a pale face as he shook his head continuously. He had already lost the will to fight because last time, Lin Ling could easily kill him, let alone this time. At this moment, he was filled with deep regret. If he had known earlier, he would not have provoked the son of devil. The son of devil was a complete madman. He dared to slay a deity, dared to kill a devil. How could he not dare to touch him? So what if they were holy knights? In the eyes of the son of demon, they were nothing more than ants. If you don't speak, die. Lin Ling's cold voice rang out. Duan Yi did not doubt Lin Ling's killing intent at all. Lin Ling would really kill him without hesitation. If I tell you, will you let me go? Duan Yi raised his head and said. Although the treasure was a secret and could not be revealed, he was not as resolute as the other members of the Duan family when it came to death. They would rather die than say anything. In the end, it was because his status was higher and he didn't want to die here so easily. Of course, if you tell me, I swear that I won't kill you, Lin Ling said indifferently. He used his martial heart to swear a blood oath because he knew that an expert at Duan Yi's level would never reveal the origin of the treasure if he didn't swear a blood oath. Sure enough, Duan Yi was tempted. It's a god's bone, a genuine god's bone. Legend has it that whoever obtains it can become a deity. Duan Yi shouted. When he said this, his heart was beating violently as if he had said a mysterious taboo. God's bone. Lin Ling's expression changed slightly. There were 4 deities in the current world, but obtaining the god's bone would allow one to become the 5th deity. It was no wonder that so many great forces had gathered here. However, Lin Ling was still skeptical about the god's bone. How could such a convenient thing happen in the land of the 9 prefectures? Was the god's bone unearthed on the divine mountain? Lin Ling asked again. According to the records, it was indeed on the divine mountain. Moreover, there isn't just one god's bone in the starry sky world. There are countless of them. However, for now, only the god's bone from the divine mountain has been unearthed. Duan Yi said. The starry sky world was also a god's tomb. Legend had it that during the Great War of the deities, this was the place where the most deities had fallen. If these gods' bones were unearthed, the world would definitely be thrown into chaos. Countless experts would be born as a result. That's all I know. You should let me go now. Duan Yi said at this moment. Lin Ling began to revert to his original form and walked over step by step. Duan Yi's heart skipped a beat when he saw the cold look on his face. Of course, he felt even more humiliated. He was a god's sacred knight, yet he was afraid of a mortal from the land of the 9 prefectures. If this wasn't humiliating, what was? Lin Ling looked down at Duan Yi and shook his head. God's sacred knight? Trash. Get lost. Duan Yi clenched his teeth and galloped away on his horse. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. He had to kill Lin Ling no matter what. After he left, he had to ask the Duan family's 4 talismans to use the god's sacred knight to tear Lin Ling into pieces. Rumble. However, he had only run a few hundred meters when the space around him began to distort. He and his horse began to spin around in the air. Lin Ling, you've gone against the heart of martial arts. Duan Yi immediately jumped in fright and hurriedly roared. I didn't kill you. However, Lin Ling's voice drifted over clearly. He didn't kill you, but that doesn't mean I won't kill you. You might have misunderstood something. Lin Ling and I aren't together, and he isn't my boss. We're working together. On the other hand, the 9th God Eye's voice drifted over, causing Duan Yi's eyes to widen. If the 9th God Eye was Lin Ling's subordinate, then if the 9th God Eye killed him, the debt of death would be placed on Lin Ling's head. However, the 9th God Eye was not Lin Ling's subordinate. They were working together. Lin Ling had no right to order him around, so the blood oath was naturally invalid. Lin Ling, you tricked me. Duan Yi roared in unwillingness, but his body began to dissipate bit by bit. Like a leaf caught in a giant whirlpool, he began to disintegrate as the whirlpool spun around him. Most importantly, this was no ordinary whirlpool, but a spatial whirlpool. After a long while, the ninth god I returned and smiled at Lin Ling, the Duan family. I remember that they also sent experts to kill me. Today, I'll take back some interest. Let's go. We can't stay here for long. Lin Ling also smiled. Now that he had gotten his revenge, he felt much better. The two of them disappeared from the ancient world under the starry sky. It didn't take long for the news of Duan Yi's death to spread to the nearby area. However, no one knew who had killed him. On the other hand, a day later, many more experts from the Duan family arrived. These people were no longer of the younger generation. They were all old monsters who had cultivated for tens of thousands of years. The weakest of them was a mid-stage martial ancestor, and a large number of them were late-stage martial ancestors. Such a force, even if placed in the final world, was not an ordinary force. Duan Yi is dead? Who did it? Chapter 3440. All the experts of the 9 prefectures had gathered. We don't know yet because there are too many experts gathered around the sacred mountain. Someone immediately replied. He used the Eye of Heaven and Earth recursion to check, but he couldn't find anything. The 9th god's eye's ability to distort space had caused the space in the area to be distorted. Young Master Duan, the sacred mountain is still in charge. Yes. The man nodded and set up camp on the spot again. However, it could be seen that his forehead was filled with veins. After the experts of the Duan family arrived, the east of the sacred mountain became quiet. However, the new heavenly court was attacked because the experts of the new heavenly court had not arrived. The disciple of martial god Wen Tian, Ningbo Tao, was still on his way. The people of the new heavenly court were all killed and robbed of everything they had. This shocked the area around the sacred mountain. Of course, the culprit was also found out. It was the son of the demon from the God-slaying alliance. When the news spread, the experts of the Divine Escort Mansion, Flying Dragon Organization, and Fu Hang Manor were shocked. Especially those who didn't have experts in charge, they were in a panic. However, not long after, the experts of Fu Hang Manor were all killed. This caused the Divine Escort Mansion, Flying Dragon Organization, and other major forces to join hands. However, after a period of time, the experts in charge of these major forces finally arrived. Every one of them was a mid-stage martial ancestor and had a 4th-grade ultimate desolate body. A 4th-grade ultimate desolate body was no small matter. It was much harder to raise one's desolate body by 1 grade than to raise one's cultivation by 1 level. This was because many late-stage martial ancestor experts only had a 3rd-grade or 2nd-grade ultimate desolate body. It was even difficult for them to raise it in their lifetime. Son of the demon, you deserve to die. When the experts of the major forces arrived, they were furious. They almost wanted to search the sacred mountain and find the son of the demon, then kill him and whip his corpse to vent their anger. I heard that the son of the demon is only at the sage realm, but he's so arrogant. Does he think that we don't exist? However, the 9 prefectures 10 Vicious, Immortal Temple, Creation Alliance, Tomb Guardian Tribe, Great Demon Sect, and Land of Eternal Rest are all here. So we can't act rashly. Moreover, I've heard that a new member of the 9 prefectures 10 evils has surfaced because of the divine bone. It's the Tin Ghost Clan. What is the Tin Ghost Clan? Why haven't I heard of it before? The various forces were all paying attention to the situation of the battle. They were prepared to risk their lives to obtain the godly bone. However, as more and more experts arrived, they also began to feel the pressure. The Tin Ghost Clan is the #1 puppet clan in JoJo. It is said that the clan leader of this clan was a puppet created by God. After the fall of God, this puppet hid in the myriad of worlds and created the Tin Ghost Clan. The reason why they came here is because God's bones are the best puppet material. Bastard! The treasure hasn't even been unearthed yet, and the world is already in chaos. The Flying Dragon Organization and the others were all furious, and in the following days, the Wangu clan also came. The area around the Divine Mountain seemed quiet, but in reality, countless powerhouses had already gathered. Those below the martial ancestor realm were not qualified to step into this world. Of course, if there was one, it would be Lin Ling. Lin Ling was the only exception. Moreover, his battle prowess was so ferocious that no one dared to underestimate him. The world in the starry sky seems peaceful, but there will be a storm at any time. At the bottom of an ancient mountain, a large number of criminals gathered. The ninth god's eye looked at the sky with excitement. During this period, he and Lin Ling had slaughtered the new heavenly court in Fu Hang Manor, and they had greatly vented their anger. However, as more experts arrived, they knew that the calm surface of the water was about to be disturbed. Once the godly bone appears, the Jojo will be in chaos. Lin Ling also wished for the world to be in chaos. After all, he had come here for two reasons. First, to find the Mahakasayapa incantation. Second, to disrupt his enemies and obtain the treasure. Although Lin Ling was also very interested in the godly bone, he did not have the confidence to snatch it from the hands of so many experts. However, since he couldn't snatch it, he hoped that it would be taken by a powerful force he knew. We have killed many people from the Duan clan, the New Heavenly Court, and Fu Hang Manor. They should be the ones who want to kill us the most. Have you found out who is the expert overseeing them? Subsequently, Lin Ling asked again. Although other forces had grudges with Lin Ling, such as the Divine Escort Estate, the treasure was about to be unearthed, so the Divine Escort Estate had no time to deal with him. However, the Duan clan and the New Heavenly Court were different. They wanted to kill Lin Ling at any time. Young Master, Ning Haitao has come from the New Heavenly Court. He is the disciple of martial god Wen Tian. He is a level 4 martial ancestor and has a level 4 ultimate desolate body. He is one of the 4 heavenly ears in the universe, the Thunder Heavenly Ear. I heard that he can hear everyone's thoughts. One of the convicts said flatteringly. If Chu Yun and the others were here, they would definitely be shocked. Unknowingly, Lin Ling seemed to have become the leader of the criminals. The Academy's freshman trial was for them to survive for a year, avoid the criminals, and become the leader of the criminals. If this was spread back to the Academy, all the teachers would be frightened. 4 heavenly ears in the universe? It is on the same level as my space-time god eye, but it can't compare to senior 9th. Interesting. Lin Ling couldn't help but laugh. If his space-time god eye reached the limit, it would also be a level 4 ultimate desolate body. The New Heavenly Court has Duan Wuhan. He is a level 4 divine paladin. So far, no one has seen his ultimate desolate body. The criminal added. So powerful? The 9th god I couldn't help but be curious. Lin Ling pondered for a moment and nodded. It's not that no one has seen his ultimate desolate body, but that those who have seen it are all dead. It seems that this guy is not to be trifled with. However, many of the 9 provinces' 10 evils are also here. The criminal said again and told him all the information he had gathered. Lin Ling's expression kept changing. The Immortal Temple is also here. I wonder if Senior Sister Yu is here. He couldn't help but feel a little excited. Last time at the Heavenly King Mountain in Yen Province, an Yuer had risked her life to block the 5th Demon Elder for him. Lin Ling had always remembered this. The Creation Alliance is also here. Senior Lu Chen, the 9-lantern fish, I haven't seen him for a long time. Lin Ling smiled again as he thought of an acquaintance. It could be said that the Creation Alliance was Lin Ling's comrade in arms. At least this force was not weak. Moreover, a new member of the 10 evils of the 9 provinces has surfaced. It's the Tin Ghost clan. This clan is an expert in puppetry. 30,000 years ago, when I wasn't a fugitive, I once saw them. They were very powerful. Later, they changed their names and disappeared from the myriad worlds. The Tin Ghost race. Hearing this, Lin Ling frowned. Because one of the leaders of the God Slayer Alliance, Ma Jin Tianzi, was also a puppet master. Could it be that they were related? And the Tomb Guardian race. The criminal said again. Meng Lu of the Tomb Guardian race and Lin Ling were brothers. If the Tomb Guardian race knew that Lin Ling was here, they would definitely help Lin Ling. Interesting, it's getting more and more interesting. I've said that learning martial arts in the final world schools is boring. That's not the world of martial arts. This is the real world of martial arts. Chapter 3441. Translator, Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios. The divine treasure had been unearthed. Rumble. While they were waiting, the divine mountain in the distance rumbled as if it was breathing. However, the sound was so loud that it spread throughout the entire starry sky forest. Everyone's conversation was immediately interrupted. Is this divine mountain a toad? Lin Ling looked over. During this period, the divine mountain would rumble every day. However, the frequency of the rumbling had increased over the past few days. Looks like the divine bone is about to be unearthed. Lin Ling licked his lips, anticipating the arrival of the storm. Kunlun. At this moment, a timid voice came from Lin Ling's body. Then, a small vine rose up like a child's arm. Haha, you've finally woken up. Lin Ling was delighted because this was little Kunlun's voice. When little Kunlun sensed Lin Ling's laughter, its vine rose even faster. It was also extremely happy. Little Kunlun was equivalent to Lin Ling's armor. Every time he was close to death, it would protect Lin Ling. It was like a brother to Lin Ling. However, little Kunlun's vine suddenly faced the divine mountain, as if it was very interested in it. This shocked Lin Ling. Then, he recalled little Kunlun's origin. He had encountered it when the Azure Province God Emperor changed positions. It could be considered one of the few things that Lin Ling could see through. Little Kunlun, have you discovered something? Lin Ling asked hurriedly. However, little Kunlun's vine swayed. It seemed to be just a feeling, but it was not strong. Lin Ling sighed softly and did not ask any more questions. In the following days, Lin Ling and the ninth god's eye waited for the treasure to be unearthed. On this day the earth shook. The distant divine mountain rumbled endlessly, and rumbling sounds filled the sky. The rumbling was even more frequent than usual. The experts near the divine mountain were all delighted. Had the treasure been unearthed? It's finally here. To the east of the divine mountain, a man rode a golden horse and smiled as he looked into the distance. Young Master Duan, we've finally waited. The experts of the Duan clan were also extremely excited. Duan Wuhan, I'm afraid that the divine bone will be accompanied by many treasures, so I don't want the divine bone. However, I want to choose one of the treasures. If you agree, I'll help you. Not far away, a large group of experts had gathered, and the leader was the Flame Emperor. Deal. Duan Wuhan nodded immediately. If it were before, he could rely on the experts of the Duan family to monopolize the treasures, but there were too many powerhouses gathered in the sacred mountain area, so he also needed some helpers. This was because he also knew that the Great Devil Sect, Land of Eternal Rest, Immortal Temple, and other experts were all eyeing him covetously. Gulyalu. At this moment, the divine mountain seemed to have come to life. Billowing white smoke spread out from the top of the mountain, enveloping the sky and blocking the starry sky. It's unearthed. Strike first and gain the upper hand. Around the ancient sacred mountain, many experts flew up and looked at the sacred mountain with burning eyes. When they saw the white smoke, many people became excited. The divine bone had reached the divine transformation realm in one step. Attack! Without any hesitation, a large number of experts pounced towards the divine mountain, and the fastest among them was actually the Flying Dragon organization. Bastard! On the Duan family's side, many people cursed and then looked at Duan Wuhan. Duan Wuhan frowned and then waved his hand. Duan family, attack! Our Yen province will be the vanguard. The Flame Emperor said boldly as he led the experts of the Yen province to the summit of the sacred mountain. He seemed brave, but in truth, he also wanted to find a chance to obtain the divine bone. Moreover, even if he didn't succeed, as long as he obtained a treasure, this trip would not have been in vain. These pieces of trash actually don't follow the rules and strike first and gain the upper hand. On the other side, the experts of the Great Devil Sect, Land of Eternal Rest, and Immortal Temple all paled. Without any hesitation, they called for a large number of experts to charge at the sacred mountain. From a distance, the scene was extremely spectacular. There were giants, paladins, warriors of ice and fire, and other experts of heaven and earth surrounding the sacred mountain. The sacred mountain was very large, and at its peak, clouds and mist drifted about. It was as if a god was standing there, and all the living beings around wanted to get close to that god and become a god. Lin Ling, what should we do? At this moment, the ninth god I was nervously looking at Lin Ling from a certain part of the sacred mountain. Lin Ling frowned. Did their faction have to move out? There was no question that the closer they were to the summit, the greater their chances of obtaining treasures. This was also why so many experts were charging at the sacred mountain. But for some reason, Lin Ling felt that things were not so simple. Of course, this was only his guess, and he wasn't too sure. Lin Ling, if you don't move out, we'll have come for nothing. The ninth god, I called out once more. Lin Ling was finally about to move out, but at this moment, little Kunlun began to squeak, causing Lin Ling to pale. You can't! He immediately shouted, causing the criminals who were about to charge out to stop in their tracks. Although I don't know why we can't step onto the sacred mountain, little Kunlun is telling me that this is not the time to go up, Lin Ling hurriedly said. The ninth god, I frowned, but in the end, he believed Lin Ling's words. At this moment, more and more experts were charging up the sacred mountain. They moved with incredible speed, and as they charged, they began to fight with each other, causing quite a few people to fall. Rumble! At the summit of the sacred mountain, even more clouds began to gather, enveloping the earth and giving off an extremely oppressive feeling. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled within the roiling clouds. Suddenly, the roiling clouds began to change, and war cries could be heard. The Great War of Gods and Demons. What appeared within the clouds was the Great War of Gods and Demons of the Age of Gods. There were ancient demons whose ends stretched as far as the eye could see, gods whose bodies shone with golden light, and a higher god with 12 wings. They ruled over a part of the world and were the most ancient legends of the 9 provinces. And now, the two sides were engaged in a great battle that caused the heavens to collapse and the earth to rend. Everything seemed to be real. The martial ancestors who were charging towards the sacred mountain were all stunned. Their bodies began to tremble. It was as if they were witnessing the great war of gods and demons with their own eyes. And they were nothing more than insignificant ants. How frightening! Lin Ling watched from afar, his heart turning grave. The strength of these experts could easily shatter the 9 provinces, even shatter the void of the universe. This was the pinnacle of strength in the world. Lin Ling, look at them. The 9th god, I pointed at the experts on the sacred mountain. The experts who had rushed up the divine mountain were all motionless, as if time had frozen on the divine mountain, and those experts also started to slowly wither. The wrinkles on their faces became more and more, their bones became more and more brittle, and the power of the world essence also seemed to dissipate. Crack! A few moments later, an expert collapsed, gradually turning into ashes like a piece of paper being burned by fire. Following that, another expert collapsed. Finally, all the experts collapsed, their bodies withered and gradually shattered. A gust of wind blew past, and countless fireworks danced on the sacred mountain. These were the ashes of the experts from before. Chapter 34-42. King Blood Skull. Everyone's pupils trembled fiercely, and a thick chill rose in their hearts. How strange. No one dared to move. They were dumbstruck. Their throats rolled, and even swallowing their saliva seemed to be much more difficult. They are all dead. The 9th god, I said, his face pale. The martial ancestor realm. Previously, those who had charged up the sacred mountain were all martial ancestors. There were even late-stage and peak martial ancestors. However, in the blink of an eye, he was reduced to ashes. This was too frightening. Fortunately, they didn't act rashly. Otherwise, they would have been completely wiped out. Even Lin Ling's face turned solemn as he looked at little Kunlun. If it wasn't for little Kunlun's reminder, he would have rushed up the sacred mountain as well. Fortunately, he believed in little Kunlun. Then, he looked at the various factions near the sacred mountain, and a smile appeared on his face. This was because many people from the various forces had died. And that was indeed the case. The faces of those top experts were dark, and their bodies were trembling with anger. Those were martial ancestor-level experts. The birth of a martial progenitor was extremely rare. Thus the amount of resources required was uncountable. Now that one of them had died, the factions they belonged to were greatly weakened. At this moment, the godly mountain was still as silent as before. Rolling clouds and mist were still flowing, but no one dared to approach it. They could only wait. These guys aren't impulsive anymore? Lin Ling couldn't help but laugh when he saw the solemn expressions on the experts' faces. Previously, these powerhouses were restless, deeply afraid that if they were a step too slow, something would be snatched away by others. But now, none of them dared to move. It was truly hilarious. Time passed quietly, and the clouds above the divine mountain began to disperse. Then, the top of the mountain cracked open, and huge rocks tumbled. Then, a huge skeletal arm stretched out. This arm seemed to have come from another world, exuding a threatening aura. Most importantly, the skeletal arm was red. Everyone sucked in a cold breath. Some of the experts inspected the skeleton with their heavenly eyes and discovered that it was most likely a half-martial god realm presence, which was stronger than a peak martial progenitor realm cultivator. What is this? Could that be the divine bone? The various experts muttered to themselves, not daring to act rashly. Rumble. The peak of the divine mountain was like a volcanic crater. More and more cracks appeared. Another blood-red skeleton arm reached out and dug a hole. Then, it finally crawled out. It was actually 100-meter-tall crimson skeletal giant. Under its feet, skeletons crawled out one after another. Some were white and some were green. They were like ants coming out of their holes, making one's scalp tingle. However, after all the skeletons had crawled out, water began to flow out from the top of the mountain and gradually accumulated into a lake. Gulyalu! The lake continued to bubble, as if something was about to surface. Everyone became nervous as they stared fixedly at the lake. Finally, an ancient boat appeared on the surface of the lake. Several boxes were placed on the boat. They looked simple and unadorned, but they caused everyone to hold their breaths. Although no one knew what was inside the chest, a chest unearthed from the sacred mountain must contain a great treasure. Perhaps the god's bone was among them as well. For a moment, everyone's eyes turned red. There were many martial progenitor realm experts here, but due to their limited talents, they had been stuck at the same cultivation level for over 10,000 years. It would be difficult for them to have a breakthrough in their lifetime. However, if they obtained the god's bone, they would have the talent of a god. It was even possible for them to step into a new realm. It's mine. In the Flying Dragon organization, an old man transformed into a black mist and quickly charged towards the sacred mountain. He was a 17-kill expert, a peak martial progenitor realm expert. Damn, that's Elder Yu. How cunning. Don't let him get the treasure. Look, the clouds on the sacred mountain have dispersed. That means it's fine for us to ascend the sacred mountain. The various forces were starting to get restless. Ha ha ha. When the old man sensed everyone's angry roars, he immediately smiled smugly. The one who struck first had the advantage. As long as he obtained those treasure chests, he would have a way to leave the battlefield. Therefore, he was not afraid. Following that, he looked at the gigantic crimson skeleton and licked his lips. King Blood Skeleton? It seems to be a demigod existence. However, I'm an assassin and I'm good at delivering a fatal blow. Even a demigod can be killed. A dagger appeared in his hand as he condensed all his strength, causing the dagger to instantly disappear. He had a 4th-grade ultimate desolate body and his progenitor's power had reached 70%. A fatal blow was naturally not to be underestimated. The dagger was completely formless and colorless. It had even disappeared from this world. With such a killer move, even a god would find it difficult to guard against it. At the same time, a dagger appeared above the crimson skeleton's head. With a terrifying killing intent, it slashed down. Although it did not seem powerful, everyone knew that such a killer move was the most terrifying. Bastard! Many people cursed. With a slash of the dagger, the crimson skeleton's head immediately split open, as though it could not withstand a single blow. Haha! The 17-kill assassin laughed smugly as he hurriedly shot towards the ancient lake. This caused everyone's eyes to turn red with envy. Ningbo Tao from the New Heavenly Court and Duan Wuhan from the Duan family roared angrily. Elder Yu, how dare you? However, just as the old man was about to reach the ancient lake, an arm suddenly appeared and grabbed the old man. The old man was alarmed as he realized that it was the King Blood Skeleton's attack. The King Blood Skeleton is not dead? At this moment, the huge King Blood Skeleton stared at the old man in its hand. Its empty eye sockets revealed only a trace of coldness. Its head was full of cracks from being injured by the dagger, but it did not seem to feel anything at all. Bang! The skeleton clenched its hand, and blood flowed out of its palm. After a miserable cry, the 17-kill assassin was deader than dead. Moreover, The blood that was left on the sacred mountain was actually absorbed by the sacred mountain. Terrifying. The entire area around the sacred mountain fell into a deathly silence. This was because a peak martial progenitor had died just like that. One must know that such a level of cultivation was not to be trifled with in the final world. For a moment, the experts of the various factions did not dare to move. In the distance, Lin Ling and the ninth god I laughed. What a majestic king blood skeleton. Kill it, the more you kill the better. Obviously, Lin Ling and the others were extremely happy to see their enemy having a hard time snatching the treasure. What should we do? At this moment, an old woman from the Fu Hang Manor said. She was 13 blessings, one of the 13 strongest people in the Fu Hang Manor. What can we do? The treasure is right in front of us. If you want it, go get it. Someone from the Divine Escort Mansion sneered. They were all very cunning. No one wanted to be the first to eat the crab. Everyone, how about this? Let's join forces and kill the king blood skeleton first. Then we'll fight for the treasure with our strength. At this moment, a majestic voice floated out. It was Duan Wuhan. Many people immediately looked at him. They were somewhat in awe of this person. Haha, Duan Wuhan, don't tell me you're using us as tools. Chapter 34-43. Fighting the Blood Skull King. However, even though he was seen through, Duan Wuhan was not angry. He said lightly, "This Blood Skull King is obviously a monster guarding the treasure. In the current situation, what else can we do except join forces? You know, after the treasure is unearthed, if we don't seize it, it will fly away and disappear in the 9 regions and the myriad worlds. At that time, who can find it?" As soon as these words came out, everyone's face became serious. This was indeed the case. Not to mention these divine treasures, even the fleece flower with spiritual energy would disappear if it wasn't tied up with a red rope. I can guarantee that as long as we join forces, the Duan family will also send a large number of experts. Is that okay? Duan Wuhan said again. Hearing this, everyone was finally moved. They were afraid that they would be used by the Duan family, but the Duan family would also send experts. In this way, if they died, many people from the Duan family would also die. Okay, I, Ningbo Tao, agree. Kill the Blood Skull King first, and then compete for the treasure. The Flying Dragon Organization also agrees. The Wangu family also agrees. Around the sacred mountain, everyone had the same goal. In the distance, Lin Ling and the others frowned. Because these big forces had joined forces, it would be difficult for Lin Ling and the others to cause trouble. The Great Devil Sect will join. The Immortal Temple will also join. And the Land of Eternal Rest. Moreover, 3 of the 9 regions' 10 evils had joined. Although they were not on good terms with the forces of the 9 regions, they also knew that if they did not join forces, they would have no hope of getting the treasure. Haha, then let's unite as one. Seeing that all the experts had agreed, Duan Wuhan suddenly smiled heroically. Flame Emperor, you will be the vanguard. In order to prove that he was not selfish, he called on the Duan family and the people of the Yen state to take the lead. Flame Emperor nodded immediately and rushed toward the sacred mountain with a large number of experts. New Heavenly Court, move out. Fu Xing Manor, move out. When the other forces saw this, they immediately sent out their experts. Ka. Atop the sacred mountain, the Blood Skull King stood motionless like a god. Its empty eye sockets were looking down at the ground. It seemed to know that these experts were about to attack it. Suddenly, a mysterious melody was emitted from its body. It was like an invisible ripple that spread to the vicinity of the sacred mountain. Ka. The skeletons on the sacred mountain immediately rushed down in an attempt to block the invading enemies. Rumble. Moreover, there were endless skeletons crawling out from the ground of the divine mountain. It made one's scalp go numb. The Blood Skull King was like a deity that could summon the gods and summon them. Everyone be careful. Many people had seen how powerful those skeletons were, so their expressions were extremely solemn. Bang bang bang. Boom. Boom. The entire starry sky forest shook violently, and the 2 powerful forces clashed madly. Both sides were indomitable existences. When the 2 sides collided, The aura was terrifying. It was simply the peak of the 9 provinces. Far away in the outskirts of the starry sky forest, the students of the academies had also noticed the scene in the distance. Their faces were all pale with fright, and they didn't dare to take a step closer.
No! Dang!
A fierce battle broke out, and many powerful cultivators were killed by the skeletons. There were white and green skeletons. The green skeletons were the most difficult to deal with. They were fast and had spiritual intelligence. Although the white skeletons were slow, their bones were hard and they were not afraid of death. The most important thing was that there were too many of them. Blood had almost dyed the foot of the sacred mountain red. Of course, many of the skeletons had also been destroyed, and the sacred mountain was littered with skeleton fragments. As for Duan Wuhan and the rest, their expressions were solemn. For the treasure, their forces had paid a great price. It could be said that 2/3 of the foot of the mountain had been destroyed. If they couldn't get the treasure, they would suffer a great loss today.
Kill!
Duan Wuhan shouted coldly. Riding on his golden horse, he finally moved out. Seeing this, Ningbo Tao and the other powerful cultivators also moved out. Their strength was stronger, and they managed to open a bloody path in the army of skeletons.
Ka.
However, at this moment, the Blood Skull King on the mountaintop also moved. A huge bloodbone saber appeared in its hand. It held the saber and slashed at the enemies.
Flaming Emperor, help me!
Duan Wuhan was the fastest. When he saw the Blood Skull King attacking, he roared. The Flaming Emperor immediately arrived. The two of them joined forces to block the saber.
Rumble!
The saber was about to split open the void. It was extremely terrifying.
Puff!
Duan Wuhan and the rest immediately spat out blood, but their eyes turned red. The Blood Skull King was really terrifying.
I'll help you.
At this moment, Ningbo Tao and the other powerful cultivators also arrived. They joined forces to fight against the Blood Skull King. They all had powerful talents and were at the peak of the martial ancestor realm. When they joined forces, they actually blocked the attack of a demigod.
Good, that's it.
Duan Wuhan immediately smiled excitedly and called on all the powerful cultivators to kill the Blood Skull King.
Rumble!
Their means were extremely terrifying. When they joined forces, not only were the skeletons on the sacred mountain killed, but they also killed their own people. However, they didn't care about that now. All they cared about was the treasure. However, the Blood Skull King was really powerful. It had blocked so many powerful cultivators and was still alive. On the contrary, many cracks had appeared on its huge skeleton, and the cracks continued to spread. Damn, even the top 10 martial gods of the 9 provinces wouldn't dare to fight against us when we join forces. This skeleton's bones are so hard. Realizing this, many people felt a chill in their hearts. If they didn't join forces, they could only run away in a one-on-one fight against such an ancient god. The Blood Skull King is about to collapse. Everyone work harder. At this time, Duan Wuhan spoke again. He was also seriously injured, and blood was flowing from the corner of his mouth. Moreover, even though the top cultivators had joined forces, 1 or 2 of them had died. Fortunately, all the skeletons on the sacred mountain had been destroyed, and only the Blood Skull King was left. In this way, everyone could besiege the Blood Skull King. Looking from afar, the scene was extremely spectacular. The huge Blood Skull King was fighting against the powerful cultivators of the world without fear of death. Lin Ling and the 9th gods were watching the battle from afar. Their expressions were extremely grave. In terms of time, it was only a matter of time before the Blood Skull King fell. And once the Blood Skull King fell, all the treasures would belong to Duan Wuhan and the others. Lin Ling, think of something. The 9th gods couldn't help but become anxious. His goal was to cause trouble, but he didn't know how to do it now. Lin Ling, on the other hand, remained silent as he activated his 10,000 mammoth's demonic eyes and stared at the Blood Skull King.
Boom!
At this time, the right arm of the Blood Skull King exploded, and bones flew everywhere, killing a large number of people. However, Duan Wuhan and the others were stunned, and then they all laughed. The Blood Skull King was injured.
Kill!
They raised their morale and attacked with all their might.
Boom!
With another explosion, the left arm of the Blood Skull King exploded.
Boom!
You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.